Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. First item of business is to review and approve the minutes of the July 12th meeting. They were sent out in a timely manner. I assume that everybody had a chance to read through them. Any additions or corrections? If not, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A motion from Eddie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from Brad. Is there any more comments on the minutes? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, so you're gonna, Matt abstained. Okay, anything under clerk's report?
Yes, just a couple of things. Last month, we had our annual loss control walkthrough with Sursa, our insurance company.
Okay,
We created an action plan, and what that does is it just makes us more defensible should there be any kind of legal issue with somebody
Okay.
getting hurt or anything like that. Part of the action plan includes to do monthly documented playground inspections, provide playground inspection training, which Sarah is in process of doing now. Provide a written response to Sursa's recommendation letter. The 2015 letter had not been responded to. And what they wanted to know about on that letter was that the old broken slide at the playground was removed. And so the town responded to that. I did on behalf of the town, saying that it was removed and replaced. And they were also asking about the outhouses here at Town Hall, and Stephanie and I have been in contact about that. Finally, they suggested that the board undergo public officials liability training, and that can be completed. Let's see, they have a short video that the board members can watch, and also a handbook that we
okay,
can get copies of. Apparently the town at one point had copies. I looked for the copies.
okay.
I cannot find the copies. So we can request new ones, and that would be considered responding to that.
And where do we get, where do we get the video? Is it on a computer or?
If the board is interested in going that route by just watching the video, it's very short. I would
Okay.
recommend probably that route. I can email you the link for it, and you can just
Okay.
watch it on your own time.
Okay,
So that was one thing. Also, the town is currently waiting on a quote for workers' comp insurance.
okay,
The board and myself need to be covered by workers' comp, even though the board is paid a nominal fee because you're not totally volunteer. Workers' comp is required by law. Their board meets on the 11th of this month,
mhm,
so they're not authorized to release the quote until their board approves giving us the quote. And then once we have that, I can come back with that at the next meeting and we can
Okay.
decide what to do from there.
okay,
Just a heads up that that's coming. And that's it, the clerk's report.
okay. Okay.
Brad's got a comment.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Yes.
This workman's comp carrier, is it the same one we've always used?
The one that you've already always used is VAMP, and that's a volunteer.
Yeah.
That was actually not used correctly. It should be used for those who are strictly volunteer, as in zero pay.
Okay. The new workman's comp, is it only covering the board and none of the volunteers?
So the new workers' comp will cover anybody who's paid,
Okay,
and the volunteers can still be covered under VAMP. So any commissioners
okay. So
can
we're
still be
gonna,
covered under the VAMP program.
so we're gonna have two.
Right, and the VAMP program is really inexpensive. It's
Yeah.
like less than $3 a
Yeah.
year per person, so that's almost a no-brainer in terms of, you know, some of the commission positions like ditches and streets and things where there's potentially some issues there. But yes, they can be covered under VAMP.
Okay.
And the zoning board has to sign a waiver if they don't want to be covered under workers' comp, because they're an official board of the town, they could be covered under workers' comp, but because they're unpaid, they could also be covered under VAMP. So one option would be for the zoning board to not be covered under workers' comp, but then they could be picked up under VAMP.
And that's what you'd probably recommend because it's the cheapest.
It probably will be cheaper. It may not be an option this year because it's a yearly plan and we're so close to the end of the year.
Okay.
We're getting quotes for both and they'll let us know what our options are. But when 2017 rolls around, we can do it exactly the way we want it if it's not quite that way for the rest of this year.
Eddie?
Then when you get the quote, we'll see how much it's gonna be. And that, Colorado Rural Water Association, they have partnered with some insurance companies in the past to help rural communities throughout Colorado with workers' comp. So that might be something.
Can you tell me the name of that again, please?
It's Colorado Rural Water Association, CRWA.
Okay.
We would have to join and be a member, but the membership dues are pretty cheap. It might be cheaper to become a member and get reduced rates.
And there would be other.
So it's just something to compare, just to get another quote.
Okay, any other questions on the clerk's report? Okay, down to the treasurer's report.
So I emailed you kind of a reformatted treasurer's report. Basically, it's got, the first column are the potential disbursements for this month, the year-to-date spending for each category, and then what was budgeted under that category. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes,
I just want to make sure I understand this right.
okay,
If we went, let's say, to Parks and Rec,
okay,
okay? We're spending $50 this month.
right,
You're asking for approval to sign that check,
right,
right? And year-to-date, we've spent $519.
correct,
And we budgeted for this item, Parks and Rec, $795
right,
Is that budget for the whole year?
for the whole
Correct.
year.
correct.
Okay.
And does the 519 include the 50?
It does not, because the 50 has not been approved yet. So
Okay.
that only includes up to today, but not including today's disbursements. So you would have to add today's to find out
So,
the
for
total.
example, under town hall, then the $2,413 this month would then add to the $745
That's
if
correct.
it's approved.
Yes,
Okay.
I do like your new format.
thank you. I think it will prevent what happened last minute.
Are there any other questions on any line item? If not, I would call for a motion to approve the disbursements for the previous month.
I'll make a motion to approve the disbursements for the previous month.
Okay, I have a motion from Rachel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Matt. All in favor of approving the disbursements, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mayor's
So
report.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, sure.
I apologize. I had two quick items for the treasurer's report aside from this. One, those of you who have a budget, I need your budget numbers at next meeting, at least estimated, your best guess, anything that we can start with, because we have to start working on the 2017 budget. So next meeting, I'll send out an email reminder to all the commissioners and everybody who has a budget. Also, during our yearly walkthrough with CIRSA, it was pointed out that Pitkin can improve in the area of financial controls. One way that I discussed with Larry, he's the auditor who comes, and he and I decided that possibly an area that a way to do that would be for somebody to meet with me monthly and just review the disbursements and also just kind of compare it to the bank account, so that just as a double check to make sure that I'm not writing checks that I shouldn't be writing, to make sure that everything balances and matches up. So we could do that one of two ways. We could have one person be the same person, meet monthly. We could rotate it through the board, but just somebody else to act as a double check on my work.
Okay, this would be just a review.
Right, I
that-
mean, everything
that-
would be done, but I
that-
would just show you, here's the bank statement, here are the checks that were written, and you can compare them and show that everything matches up and looks legit.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised that it wasn't in the auditor's report too, because usually it is. So it's a
Yeah,
good
they
idea.
didn't ask me about any of that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be
Usually-
an easy thing to do, so.
Usually in the auditor's report, they're gonna point out stuff like that.
Well, it sounds like it could be a good idea. I
Yeah,
mean, mainly, like I said, it would just make us look better
Right.
it's
the
just,
audit.
it's just a safety
just a
measure, it's
safety.
smart, it's a smart thing to do.
Okay. Do we need to put that on the agenda to talk about it, do you think?
I think the only thing that we need to decide is whether it's gonna be one person or whether I'm just gonna call on different people, hey, can you come meet with me for 15 minutes? And if, I don't know if that has to be an official vote or
Okay.
not. If it does, we can probably wait till next month.
Well, you could just call on somebody to come over and look at it. I guess that would be good enough if you could do that.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Any
Just-
documentation requirements?
You know, he didn't say, and I didn't ask, but I can follow up with
Yeah.
that. I think we could just do a record,
Yeah.
yeah, and just show I met with this person on this date and
Your
get a signature.
signature.
Fine. I sat on another board, and what we do is we look at the bank statements and compare to the reconciliations,
Mhm.
and then you could review your disbursements for the month.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a check to make sure the money's in the bank where it's supposed to be,
Exactly.
and the amounts are correct. I think that's what they're asking for.
That's what they're asking. Since I'm the only person currently who really does anything with finances, except for that Steve also signs off on the checks. That's the reason that there needs to be somebody else involved besides just me.
Okay. Is that all on the treasurer's?
That's all
report?
in the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Yes.
Mayor's report. I guess I'll I will address the board on this first comment. I usually send out a preliminary agenda on Wednesday night, and then I send out the final on Sunday night. Please try to read it over on Wednesday or Thursday, and if you see anything that needs to be added, let me know then instead of waiting until Sunday night, because it's kind of too late. Unless it's something really important, I don't want to redo the agenda, repost it, resend it, unless it's something really important. So try to read it over on Wednesday or Thursday night whenever I send it. And if you see anything that needs to be added or changed, let me know. The other thing I want to talk about is something. I kind of started this, and at first I didn't have a lot of hope, but now maybe I do. One of the problems here during a dry year is that we don't have any augmentation water if there's a call. Augmentation water is supposed to be above you, like above town. The only thing up there is the kids' pond, and I don't think draining the kids' pond would really be an option. So I've been talking to Frank Kugel at the Upper Gunnison about using one of the unused ponds at the fish at the hatchery as augmentation water, and it looks like it could possibly happen. Maybe we'll know more at the next meeting. He did mention that we'd have to line it, and I really don't know, but it's too early to worry about that. But that's about our only hope of having any kind of augmentation water, the kind of the way that I see it. So we will see what happens, and maybe I'll know more at the next meeting. Okay, that's all I had. Anything under attorney's report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So I received a request for communications from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. Apparently one of the persons living in Pitkin sent them a complaint. That person had sent Mr. Mayor there was a complaint on July 7th, followed up by a letter from an attorney on July 13th demanding a special meeting. And that wasn't responded to. As the board is aware, I'm dealing with some family issues right now, so I've attached the complaint from the citizen dated July 7th, the letter from the attorney dated July 13th, the letter from the attorney dated July 20th, together with the letter from Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. In essence, they want to set up a phone call with the attorney from the state and the division staff below, probably with the mayor, Mr. Wick, and probably myself, sometime in the month of August. So just got this a couple of days ago, so we'll get
Okay.
together and meet with them and go forward from there.
Okay,
This is public information.
Oh, I don't see why it couldn't be. I mean, it's sitting here on our desk, it's subject to a core request. So with that being said, there's also been a complaint received with regards to an alleged air quality violation. I haven't even looked at that yet, so I will look at that in the next week or so.
okay, and just keep me posted if we need to put anything on the agenda to talk about.
I will.
Is there another copy? I didn't get a copy.
Yes, I apologize. Mine had the paper clip.
Thank you.
I had a stapled one for everybody else, and I kept yours. Yes, Eddie?
So when you set up the call, can we do that as a conference call so the rest of the board can listen in?
Sure, if you want to make it a public meeting, duly noticed. Otherwise, no.
Let's do it as a public meeting then.
Well, if there's consensus of the board, then that'll be the way it goes.
That's what I prefer.
Well, yeah, we would just, it would be a conference call. The only thing is that that we have to post it, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
All right. That means that you're going to have a bridge such that anyone in the public can attend telephonically as well. Otherwise, you need to do it here such that there is a phone ringing in that anyone in this room can listen into. So you figure out how you want to do it, Mr. Mayor. You can either do
Okay.
a conference call, and I just warn you in advance that if you do a conference call, that means that everyone in the world, and not that it's a bad thing, but everyone in the world has the ability to talk. And unlike presently, you don't have the gavel and or the ability to stop people from talking.
Yes.
Which is not really a positive environment for getting anything accomplished vis-a-vis communications. So
What did they ask for in this letter?
they asked to set up a phone call.
Just talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think more than anything else, they want to get the town of Pitkin's perspective on the alleged issue and go from there. And I note that it dovetails presumably with the new business discussion vote to continue testing the creek water. So I'm guessing it does.
We will talk about that then.
Yeah, exactly. But that's really what they want to know. What are you doing? There's been an allegation you're not doing your jobs. Are you doing your jobs?
Chris,
So,
excuse me,
yeah.
excuse me. Chris had his hand.
I feel certain that probably plenty of people sitting out here wondering what we're talking about. Would it be appropriate at this time to introduce the complainant and the council and let them know what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim,
You
would
can
you
read
like
it.
to-
You can read it all out, Chris. I have no hard with that.
Okay, well, no, because it's public knowledge and it's
It's a public
going-
issue. It's,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
certainly- or alternatively, an easier way would just be to take it, scan it, post it on the website. But
Rather
you
than-
can't.
can I just briefly summarize?
Nutshell it. Very good.
Okay, this is just a brief, because everybody's probably sitting there wondering, what this is. So just to briefly summarize it, there's been a complaint filed that a short-term rental operating at 724 State Street is in violation of Town of Pitkins on-site wastewater treatment systems and is a danger to the public health and safety. So that's what we're talking about. Rather than read the whole thing, we can get it posted online and everybody can read it and study it. But that's what the complaint is. So
That's followed by,
That's when I asked that we introduce the complainant and the counsel that's representing them. Would that be appropriate?
yeah, I guess we
I'm
can.
not sure what you're asking, Chris.
He wants who filed the complaint is what he said.
Oh, yeah, you can answer that question.
It's Ramon Reed and Patrice Boyd, and their attorney is I can't remember, it's Danielson or Donaldson.
Luke Danielson.
It's Luke Danielson is the attorney. That's who filed the complaint. And we don't instead of reading the whole thing here, we'll post it, we'll put it online, and everybody will have a chance to read it and study it.
So, Mr. Mayor, getting back to, we need to schedule this in August. Do you want to give me 3 days in which I can schedule something? It's got to be during the day. I'm presuming if you want to make it a public meeting, that means, quite
Well-
frankly, you want to have a phone sitting right here. If you have everyone on conference call, you don't have the ability to make people actually shut up.
Well, you see, and that's be difficult here.
You know what? This has been started. Let's let the public be involved in it. That's
The-
my,
If you've got
public
50
will
people on
be
a phone
involved.
call, Eddie, and you've got someone that won't shut up, it's going to be a waste of time. That is a circus.
The public is going to have plenty of time.
Well, just
To
do
comment.
it right here so that
Yeah.
everyone, make it a public
Jim, I
meeting.
guess I'm confused, because if it's a public meeting, we post an agenda. The agenda will be, conference call, and we'll take public comments afterward. What's any different from any of the meetings?
This is a phone call with the folks at the state. There doesn't need to be any public comment afterwards.
Okay,
There should
well, I'm
not be
saying-
any public comment during.
You're saying it's hard to make people shut up, but what's the difference between a meeting right now? What if somebody starts, during a discussion item, what's the difference, I guess?
Well, right now, if someone starts making a disturbance, Mr. Mayor says, please stop. Generally, they stop. But sometimes people continue to talk among themselves,
Yeah.
and they create distractions. And when you've got folks that are on a phone call, you can tell them to shut up.
So there's really no difference between what
But
we're
you
doing
can't
now
make them
and
turn
having
off the
conference.
television set that's blasting Magnum PI. It's just, there's a lot in terms of
Yeah.
noise. Right now, this is a wonderful, quiet tableau for hearing opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's still hard to hear. But if you've got a phone call where everyone's just listening, I'll happy to set it up either way. I just think it needs to get done as expeditiously as possible.
Because there's going to be background noise on everybody's phone.
That's
And I-
correct.
and are they
no, there's
just-
not. You can ask people to shut their cell phones off.
And will they?
Has anybody had a cell phone go off today? I think there was one, right? And I was sitting here at the table. So I think people are being pretty cognizant of the fact that, you know what? Show a little respect and we can have a meeting.
Yeah, Sarah?
I've participated in, I don't know if they're called conference calls, but where a lot of people dial in and there's a certain number of people who are able to talk, and those who just dial in are only able to listen. Would you like me to look into that? to see if
Please.
it's an-
Yes.
okay. I will do that tomorrow so that we can know quickly.
Do we have to pick the date right here then, or can we pick the date and?
I guess, Jim, I kind of see what you're saying. I was just saying, why couldn't we have the conference call up here? People can attend just like they attend.
Oh, I was saying that was fine.
Not have people, every individual person dial in.
But that was actually what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I could look into that as an option if you want to.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that people in this hall would be making noise.
Yeah.
I just suggested that 50 folks were on a conference call
Yeah,
And
no, I'm not talking about it.
that would create all kinds of,
I'm talking about the same format we have here, except conference calls here, everyone can listen in.
I don't see why
Still-
that's a problem.
Okay. So you want 3 days to set up a meeting with this,
If you'll
Law.
get, but it's gonna be during the day.
yeah, and then we need to have time to publicly notice, so at least 2 days, so it could potentially happen in 5 days. Potentially,
In theory.
so,
I mean, I think I would shoot to do it on a Tuesday.
okay.
Yeah, stay away from that.
Well, you know, there's certain people there that have to be there, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's gonna be one of those things where,
Yeah.
really, I think that I'm gonna need to call them and get their availability rather than
Yeah.
doing it backwards.
Yeah.
This is what's available. So, really, ultimately, I'm looking just for permission to contact and set that up. Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
yes. Go ahead and get some dates and see when they're available.
Okay.
And then we will get something worked out.
But it's gonna happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
It will happen in August.
During the month of August, yes.
Chris?
Do you have any more information about the other complaint?
I received an email that identified what may be an air quality violation. I didn't bring it, I apologize. But I haven't looked at it. I think I got it the day I was leaving for California. So it was like one of those, yeah, that's gonna be a back burner for a couple of weeks. And the exciting news is I'm back and it was a great service. But now I get to go have surgery Friday.
Okay. Speedy recovery.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good times.
But I just have one, so
Yes.
I assume you've spent some time reading this, Jim,
Yeah.
and I guess just here quickly reading through it. One thing that's pretty concerning is, you know, under Colorado Water Quality Control Commission regulations 43, if the town of Picton fails to administer and enforce the provisions of its OWTS ordinances or regulations, the division may assume such functions as may be necessary to protect the public health and environment. So
Yeah,
that means
it's
they would
serious
come
stuff.
in and, yeah, and demand that that be done. I mean,
That's correct. But the initial letter is just a reach out.
right.
And so I did speak with, what's her name? Ms. Parrish on the phone. Pleasant conversation. And I think that really they want to know, hey, what's going on? And so rather than levying accusations, it's okay. Let's have a meaningful dialogue and see where we're at and see where we're going.
Okay. Is that all under the attorney's report?
I believe that is correct, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Okay, we'll go down to the other reports. Building inspector?
I apologize.
Yes.
Sarah, are you going to scan this and post
I
this?
will.
Thank you.
Okay. Building inspector? Fire department? He's not here. Zoning?
The only thing we have on zoning is first is we don't have a director. If you want a director, you're gonna have to pay somebody.
Okay.
I'm just a member of the zoning board.
I'll scratch that.
Is we do have a location that the people want to do an addition to, and we may have to call a zoning meeting. I've tried to get their phone number so I can call them. All I have is an address. And if I don't get a phone number, some people's trying to get a phone number for me. So we'll probably end up having a zoning meeting in the near future. And the next thing is under cemeteries, your next one, if you're ready for that.
Oh, okay, yes.
This is the Cemetery Commissioners Report. The Cemetery Board met last night, Monday, August the 8th. And new elected officers are Chairman Jared Garrettson, Vice Chairman Harold Archuleta, Secretary Marie Rossmiller, and then Commissioner James Sharpton. The Cemetery Board has 3 names for the town trustees to consider at the next town board meeting. And those names are Mark Rossmiller, Richard Henley, and Jesse Garrettson. And I gave a copy of this to Sarah. The board also discussed future projects and the cemetery budget. And our next scheduled meeting is April of 2017.
James, who are the new officers again?
The officers are Chairman Jared Garrettson, Vice Chairman Harold Archuleta, Secretary Marie Rossmiller, and Commissioner James Sharp.
Thank you.
And the names of the three people we need to vote on at the next meeting? I've got two of them, but I didn't get to them.
Okay, Mark Rossmiller,
And Jesse Garrettson,
and Richard Henley.
Richard Henry. Okay, I gotta have a note of that.
Mr. Mayor, I do
Yes.
have one bonus thing.
Sure. Okay.
What position is that for?
They're just for members,
Okay.
just board members.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you. Did you have something to add?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, my apologies. I received a phone call from a district attorney out of Montrose, Colorado, calling with regards to the alleged election violations in terms of voting. And she indicated that she will provide me notice when she reaches her decision, which should be in the immediate future.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. Okay, we did cemetery, environmental health, yeah.
I think we're doing really well. We've only got 14 systems that are due this in 2016 left that have not reported in that they've been inspected. And we've got 4 systems that are overdue, and a 5th that's overdue but working on getting a new system, waiting on quotes. So we're doing real well with that. There is something else that's come to my attention though in environmental health, and that I should stand. It says I should stand up. Okay, I'll stand up. In my research, I discovered that Pitkin, well, I'll just read what I wrote. As of December 30th, 2015, the state of Colorado passed a gray water control regulation number 86, which supersedes all pre-existing gray water system requirements. And applicably, 86.6, all gray water uses must comply as set forth in a local gray water control program. Pitkin has basically 365 days from then, which is going to expire December 30th this year, to either adopt a local gray water control program, or all gray water systems in Pitkin will be illegal and must be dismantled. There are no exceptions, and there is no grandfathering in 86. They're pretty serious about that in Colorado. Any proposed controls must meet Regulation 86's minimum requirements. Now, Pitkin can create their own controls as long as they meet those minimum requirements. And it does probably take some work on someone's part to ferret through all the regulations and come up with something that suits uniquely the town of Pitkin. We have several gray water systems. I asked Sarah if there are any permits. None can be found. So I don't have any permits to look at to see how they were permitted. When I talked to the state gray water system regulation 86 person, she said all gray water systems previous to 2013 in Colorado are illegal. Were never allowed, no matter what. So I don't know how Pitkin in the 2009 OWTS ordinance approved them, because they have never been legal in Colorado. But in 2013, they allow them, but you have to meet their standards. And as a town in Pitkin, we would have to opt in with our own standards that meet their minimum standards.
Okay, I would like to ask, James, can you enlighten us on this? We talk, because this, when they're talking about gray water systems, that's not referring to what we're thinking about, is it?
Well, when we were doing the OWTS, I realized that we're not addressing gray water systems, what we call gray water systems, as we had in the previous ordinance. And so I called and talked to Chriswell, I believe was her name, who was in charge of, just like Chuck, whatever he's, Cosins was in charge of the OWTS. They deliberately left it out of OWTS, and then they wrote 86 and they revised it. And then, so she told me that basically, we had back and forth conversation, that basically we don't have a gray water system in Pitkin. And that, and you're absolutely right when you're talking about a gray water system. Gray water systems are primarily for like farms, irrigation that you would use in the farm, and then also in industry. A lot of it, large industry, will use gray water, what they're calling gray water, to flush toilets and urinals and that kind of stuff. You can't have toilets and urinals into a gray water system. You would have like showers, wash machines, something that's not not what we would call black water, and garbage disposals are not allowed.
Kitchen sinks are not
And
allowed.
kitchen sinks are not allowed because you've got contamination.
Okay.
And so that's where we're at. And basically, the OWTS would cover somebody that wanted to, for whatever reason, put in a system that they would only, discharge into that system and have another means like an incinerator or something to handle black water. And but the OWTS system could handle that. Again, it'd have to be engineered, and it has a different standards. For instance, the minimum tank size is 50 gallons as opposed to 1,000 or 1,250. So for Pitkin, I think we would just fall under the OWTS and get it engineered and installed, and it would have to be approved.
So do you think we have any of those systems here?
Well, we have, I can think of 3
Okay,
right offhand. I thought there was 4, and I can't remember now who the 4th one was, but we do have 3. The hotel has both, they have an OWTS and then what they call a gray water system.
well,
And
we'll have to get together and talk about this then.
but they're just discharging into a field, absorption field.
So you mentioned the hotel.
Yeah.
There's others? Can you list the others?
Yes. Ramon Reed and Patrice, their system is a what we call the gray water system, and they're using an incinerator.
Okay.
And
I think we
then
have about 8.
when Meredith's owned their property, which is now Sean and Sherry Cleveland, that system has a gray water.
Okay.
And they put in which is our illegal, but it wasn't necessarily at the time, but they put in a holding tank. And then they have to have a pump that were short.
Are any of them using recirculation? Are you guys using
No.
recirculation?
No.
So you're using gray water for the toilet or
No,
to flush
No.
the toilet or anything?
no.
It's an
Okay.
incinerator.
So you have an incinerator.
Where does this
Okay. So all of your gray water goes into a tank?
I don't think it's really very fair
It's
to be asking, sorry, Ramon.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really very fair to be asking members of the community questions about their specific systems.
Perfectly willing to answer.
Then knock yourself out.
Can I
So-
just ask a clarification? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just for my notes, so just to be sure that I'm understanding, what you're saying is that there are systems in Pitkin that Pitkin calls gray water, but they would not fall under the category of gray water per the state.
That's
Is
correct.
that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. It's-
So you have an incinerator toilet, and then you have a gray water system for the rest of the waste. So you have a holding tank.
I have a tank that it goes into with a pump that pumps the water to a, excuse me, it pumps the water up to a raised leach field bed.
Okay, so you have a leach field that's connected to the gray water system.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's true of Sean and Sherry's place. Is they
Same.
have a smaller tank, and then it goes into an absorption field.
Okay.
And same with the hotel.
This is a question for you, James. Does that absorption field, typically it's shallow, right? It's not the same depth as
No.
a on-site wastewater treatment
No.
system.
Our gray water system for Pitkin had to meet the same requirements, and that was true with the county. And they had to meet the same requirements as an individual sewage disposal system, the ICS, which is now the OWTS. Same requirements, other than you couldn't put the black water waste.
Waste.
But that's the way the county handled it, and that's the way we handled it.
As a point of courtesy, would we, Mr. Mayor, be
Yes.
able to allow the environmental health agent to finish her
Yes,
report?
and I didn't mean to interrupt, but I knew that James had important things, you know, he could kind of add to it, but no, you can go on.
Well, it seems to me that there's a bit, I don't know if the state's getting tired of hearing from us, because I've been looking into this with the state, and I didn't know James was, and if we'd known each other, we could have gotten together on this. So I wasn't aware of that. But the point I'm making is Pitkin, it's not this month, but probably on the agenda next month, we ought to at least discuss our gray water systems and how each kind, the black water gray water system or the irrigation gray water systems, there are unique things about Pitkin that apply. For example, if it's a surface system, you might not want those operating in the winter when it's frozen. But we could certainly irrigate our flowers with a proper system in the summer. But I think we need to address it before our opportunity's gone. And
I would want to get with either you or James or both to see how I'm supposed to word this, because I know that the wording will have to be correct. We can work that out later. We don't have to do it right now.
okay.
But yes, we do need to talk about it, and we will as soon as I get the correct wording.
Okay. I don't know if there's any records in Pitkin. James, maybe you know this, because I had asked Sarah for records, and there are none on gray water systems.
Those that's installed should be in the town hall in the file cabinet.
They should be, I agree. There's a possibility that some of them may be housed at Rand's house still.
I'm sorry.
Rand has some records at his home, and these may be among those records.
He has records at his home, but it shouldn't, these would be before that.
That would be
before
prior to that.
he became
Okay.
the
Well,
town
I pulled everything that I could find regarding gray water, OWTS, septic, all that, and I did not find any. I'm happy to look again.
Okay. All right. Is that all, Galen?
That's all.
Okay.
Can I ask
There
her a question, Steve?
Sure.
I just wonder if the vaults and the gray water systems you're talking about, do they fall under the same rules as far as inspections every 3 years that OWTS?
When we accepted 43, it sort of did away with the number one that was done in 2009. However, when you read it all again, that kind of holding tanks fall under OWTS, and they are required to be inspected. And I have no records of any of them being inspected, and I don't mean to imply that they're not getting inspected or emptied, but no one's notifying this office that they have been. And so that is something I will likely have to send letters to those that I have record of and ask to please be included in that process,
there's
because
no
they are
record?
required to be looked at.
Past notifications don't indicate that people with vaults or gray waters had to do an inspection.
No, in fact, my computer records show that it was believed that no inspections were required, but after review of 43, they are.
Well, this will definitely take further study, and we will, I'm sure this is gonna be on the agenda at the next meeting. Okay, thank you. PHCA, Candy?
Gary
Oh.
will get the report.
Oh, okay.
Gary Winsett, President of PHCA. We just completed an extremely successful Pitkin Day, and if you were here, you noticed there were a lot of folks in town. Every event was very well attended, and we had a very successful event here in your building, and we really appreciate that. The melodrama went for 4 sessions, and at least 2 of those were sold out, and the rest were almost. So it was a great experience, and we had a great time, and we'll hope to continue our relationship with the town council. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay, Gary, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, down to Town Hall.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So starting with the furthest away, we did have the windowsills repainted by Josiah. They're already, it's only been a week and they're already dirty. I need to come and clean them again. But I think they look great. I did talk to Sarah about some issues with the outhouses. She had talked about using wood shavings in there, sawdust. And after doing some more research last night, evidently it really helps with compost, it really helps with smell. So I went and got some free sawdust from John Rowan this morning and dumped a bunch of it in both of them, restocked them with toilet paper. Need to be clean, but other than that, they're good to go. And last thing is, we had talked about doing the handrails and stairs for downstairs and hopefully up here. After looking at it, it is the same blue as the rest of the building, that dark bluish grayish color, and it's going to be very hard to match. So I am looking into this next year, a bunch of different grants to write to hopefully gain enough money to do everything. I mean, this town hall needs a lot of love, and hopefully if we do it right, it won't have to be done for a long time. So I'm looking into writing some grants for those. I've never written one, but I need to learn anyway. And thankfully this year I'll be working with a bunch of teachers that hopefully have written countless grants themselves, so they can help me along. So that's where I'm at. I'm looking into doing some actual repairs to this place that are a little over budget, but with grants we can get it done.
Oh, okay, Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ditches.
Not much to report on. We'll be mowing and weeding ditches here shortly, and then probably we'll do maybe one more time, depending on length of grass before we shut them off.
Okay,
Probably next year, early next year, may try to do some sort of kind of community cleanup, volunteer thing to just go through and clean up and maybe straighten out some of the areas where it gets really narrow. So we'll look into that, but that's pretty much it.
okay, Corey, thank you. Streets, I think Lisa's here. Parks and Rec,
Sarah is not here. She asked me to give a report. Basically, it's just that she is completing the training so that she can do the inspection of the playground, and she will begin doing monthly inspections on the playground. She is also working still on the grant application for hopefully a new playground next year.
okay, thank you. Okay, down to public comments to the town council. Patrice, I believe that you were first.
Okay. I recommend a new committee to be added to the town duties to decide which town materials and records are to be discarded and where they may go. I have found volunteers who have lived here for some time and have been involved in the town's history and that will be glad to help with this project. That's number one. Another recommendation, that the town hall have an antiques committee. Rules for this entity would be as follows: protect the present antiques. Downstairs, cast iron heating stove. Upstairs, cast iron heating stove is one. The canvas mural that you see right here around the stage is quite unique in this state, and it should not be repainted. We have people who were very much wanting to do that. And if that happens, it's no longer an antique. Even with the drips over here, that's part of the history because the roof had to be repaired. Keep stone walls as is, don't cover with closets, etc. Repair rock walls if broken or separated. The crack on the front of the town hall was repaired several years ago by a stonemason. We had somebody before that who said they were, and it made a mess, and so it has been corrected. Don't accept antiques not wanted or can't be cared for. Keep antique gifts. Don't give away or notify the families first. Families expect to see the gifts here. The town hall bell, you can find out where it was made on the bell. That would be nice to have that written up. Write up the history on each antique. Example, the stoves actually tell where they were made on the stove. Keep the town hall's tower as is. Town of Picken Railroad downstairs in the meeting room is really important for information. All town hall Picken minute books should be saved. Keep all early gas fixtures, pipes as well as the one gas chandelier that we have hanging high, right up there. And we put it up high so that it wouldn't disappear. We used to have 2 chandeliers, and that one's gone. The Ralph Clark Family Buffet Bar gift, which is way up front, was originally from a Pitkin bar, moved to Gunnison Bar, and then to the Cold Harbor Institute, which is on Route 50. When it was an active ranch on Route 50, there it was in the barn for our community dances. Even Tommy Dorsey Band played there once. That was in the 30s. Now the buffet has been restored by Lois and Jane Sharpton. About 7 layers of very unattractive paint removed and added a healthy surface, making it safe for the town hall food display and use. It had been a ranch tool/anvil work area when we found it. It was quite dirty. I will be photographing the town of Pitkin horse-drawn hearse and the snow skids that used to be on display here in the town hall, but someone gave it away. When I was commissioner of the town hall, I had an engineer plan to build a clear, hardy building to go around the hearse, which is small when we found it, if we ever found it, to be placed next to the town hall, the Pitkin Town Hall. I had a rancher looking for the hearse, and it was because it had been loaned to a cattleman's parade. Instead of being returned to the owner's home in Pitkin, which the place was too small, I imagine some volunteers stored it for the owner. The owner purchased the hearse in the 40s or 50s when it was on sale by the Pitkin Town Board. It was placed in the museum, I have discovered last Saturday, and unfortunately it went there before I found it, and to have it brought here. So our treasures should be saved, and I'm just hoping that you'll have a committee who keeps track of these things and not just tossed away or just dismissed. They're too valuable.
Could you summarize your idea and put it in an email to me?
Yes.
So I can kind of work on that?
Yes, I think all of you should be aware of our antiques, and so that we can hang
Well, I
on to
think
them.
that's a good idea, but I kind of want to kind of send me a summary so I can think about it and see what we're going to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, I will.
Ramon?
My comments were pretty much covered under the attorney's report, so I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
If any of the board members have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them
Okay,
regarding the complaint, either during or outside of the meeting.
okay, thank you. Okay, now we're down to old business. I forget where we were on this to vote on the clerk treasurer compensation. Could you refresh me on where
The
we
board
were?
had not yet voted to publish the ordinance.
Okay,
That
and
was where we were at.
has
I
it
put
been,
together a resolution, because I looked at the Title 29, it's Title 29-1-106 or something like that, and, or 29-1-109, I believe. And it says you can make an amendment to the budget via either resolution or an ordinance. Either way, it's got to be published. Even if it's a resolution, you got to go through the strict publishing protocol 29-1-106 sub 3 sub B. My question to Ms. Gibb is, what's the total budget for the town of Pitkin? Do you know?
The total budget,
Yeah.
everything.
And the magic number I want to know is it more than 50K or less than 50K? More than 50K?
More.
More.
It's more.
It's 266,340, isn't it?
No,
that's not
This
the
is bank
budget,
balance.
that's
the,
bank balance.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
No.
budgeted,
The,
isn't it?
the,
Mm,
the
he's talking
revenues,
about the amount we spent.
Right.
the revenues are around 50 and expenditures are in the 70s.
Yeah.
I think though, I think you and I though are talking about two different things. There was a vote 2 meetings ago to change the compensation. And I put that in an ordinance and I emailed that to you to be looked at. And then, last month was when it didn't come back. And so that's what I'm talking about, needed to be voted on to publish, because the board didn't get to look at that ordinance and then vote to publish that ordinance stating what the compensation would be. And that, are you talking about
I just put together a resolution after you guys
to amend
figured
the
out
budget?
what. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's two different things. Okay. Do you
So-
have the ordinance that,
No,
okay.
no, I do not.
So-
And I don't know what the dollar figure is that your compensation will ultimately be, or what the amount that the budget needs to be amended by. That's why I've got a blank in what I've drafted.
Gotcha.
So I can throw this around to,
Okay. Sarah,
Yes.
when did you start?
May.
So do we have to vote to publish this at the next, for the next meeting?
well, ultimately, it's one of those things where the horse is before the cart. I don't know what the amount that the budget needs to be amended by.
Okay,
I'm working on it.
Okay, so the budget for salaries is 11,400 for the year. That includes, actually, if you look at the treasurer's report, you can see where we're at right now. These extras. Okay, so prior to tonight, today's disbursements, we are at 7247.75 for salaries. So that is the difference.
Does that include the $1,000? What is it? What
That
was
is-
the bonus to Jody Weiss?
That did come out of that, yes.
Okay.
That includes everything that was paid to Jody until she stopped being the treasurer.
Okay.
And then,
Should I take off my shoes?
No. Just trying to make sure I don't make a mistake.
I'm glad you're doing it, not me. Doesn't even give you a hard time.
Okay, so. Okay. The town clerk's salary went up 300 a month, but it'd be for 8 months, if I count that right.
Mhm.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay. And then for 8 months, we have a 7.65% in payroll tax. We have to add back into her entire salary.
0.0765.
Right. And this comes out $2,890 for this year, in addition to what's in there now. $2,400 in salary increase and $489 in payroll taxes.
So the budget amendment would be for $2,890.
Right. Or 3,000.
Okay, and then what about $1,000 for Jody?
That needs to be added.
Right,
So that'd be 4.
that's correct.
Go ahead.
So if you see what I did was I just put together a pretty vanilla resolution saying that in essence the amount would go out of reserves and the amount of blank. So that number would be $4,000.
$4,000. I think the election was unbudgeted too, but
There is an appropriation there.
Yeah, we took
So
care of
that's,
that.
that's
Took care.
covered.
okay.
And then at the bottom, the language reads, blah, 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 was provided by posting in the 3 public locations. That's inappropriate. It needs to read, was provided by publication in the Gunnison Country Times.
Now, haven't we gone over budget on a few other items that we also are going to come up?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Okay. I guess I would have to talk to Sarah about that because I know that I did approve having the outhouses put in town, and that was a pretty good expense that wasn't budgeted. There's going to be several things we need to sit down and figure out.
I need to know where I'm supposed to take that from, actually.
Well, yeah, that's, if we have to do a resolution, we need to make sure we get everything in there.
Not necessarily, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I would submit to you that really what you want to do is have one that addresses this. I apologize, I didn't draft one for the computer, but quite frankly, I've already, I can make some tweaks to this so we can address it via a different resolution using the same body of this document. But you really want to have your resolutions specific to the specific items. You don't want to have some blanket thing. We want to increase the budget by $40 billion for the following different things. You want to say by X number of dollars for Y incident or for Y expense. So if you keep it narrowly tailored, I think it's easier to understand.
Well, it's also,
Okay.
I mean, financially more
Mhm.
appropriate, I think.
Okay, so how should we handle this then?
Well, I think that I can read this out loud so that everyone has the opportunity to understand what we're talking about, and with the amendments that I just identified. And then, if you want, you could entertain a motion in a second to approve this resolution as set forth for publication and vote on it at the next meeting.
Okay,
Chris?
We still haven't amended the ordinance that addresses her salary, the way the motion was made. The increase and then the $20 per hour for anything over 40 hours a month. So that, we still have to do that.
Then
right?
that could be addressed at the same time at the next meeting, but my understanding was that it was all retroactive. I'm sorry,
In the meantime,
Chris.
she's not getting paid, it just gets
Well, you know, I apologize.
well,
But I'm living in a shitstorm, and that's a legal phrase, and I apologize, but that's just the way it is. And I cannot deal with all the different issues for the short-term rental that have been just dominating my life, and then have to deal with this. I'm sorry. But when I have personal time, quite frankly, I shouldn't have been at the meeting last month, and I should be able to say, you know what, I need some time. But if you can't handle that, and I respect that.
Well, it actually came up in the meeting the month before.
Well,
Yeah,
I did personally, and maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I promised Sarah that any pay increase would be retroactive to when she started. And because we're having procedural problems, it's not gonna cost her money, because I think she's doing an excellent job.
Yeah, nothing against the job
And
she's
we
doing. She's doing
need-
great.
We need a town clerk who does a good job. We can't just go hunting for Barbies. So I told her it would be retroactive, whether I could or not. That's what I told her.
So let's get back on topic here. Where are we trying to go with this?
We're gonna read
We're
it.
kind of.
Well, he's gonna read it, and then we're gonna vote
Do
to
you have a
publish.
number in there?
I don't know what resolution number it is, Corey.
Well, no,
No.
dollar
The
amount.
amount.
4,000.
Okay.
So would you like me to read it, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Okay, resolution to amend the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget to reflect supplemental appropriation, resolution number blank, I do not know what number it is. Whereas Section 29.1.109 Colorado Revised Statutes authorizes the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin to approve supplemental appropriations after adoption of the annual budget, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin has determined that the Town of Pitkin wishes to amend the compensation for its town clerk and agreed to tender a one-time bonus to the former town clerk, Jody Wise, and whereas such amended compensation and bonus payment exceeded the budget allocated for compensation of the town clerk, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin desires to amend the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget to reflect a supplemental appropriation to fund the bonus and amended compensation of the town clerk, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget shall be amended to reflect a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $4,000 to fund the bonus and increased compensation for the town clerk in the Town of Pitkin. This supplemental appropriation was approved by the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin at its regular meeting on August 9, 2016, ordered published, and received final approval September 13, 2016. Be it further resolved that the source of funds for the supplemental appropriation shall be the reserves, and be it further resolved that pursuant to Section 29.106 sub 3 sub B Colorado Revised Statutes, proper notice of this resolution and the public meeting at which the resolution was approved was provided by publication in the Gunnison Country Times. Introduced, read, and adopted this blank day of August, this 9th day of August 2016.
Okay. Now I can entertain a motion to approve this for publication.
I'll move that we go forward and publish this resolution with a number.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion from Brad, a second from Corey. Is there any more comments on this? Okay, all in favor of approving this for publication, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So now, do we have to do, I kind of missed it, I guess, do we have an ordinance crafted for, is it gonna be an ordinance or that sets the pay for the town clerk?
There is an ordinance drafted.
Yeah, but amended compensation, so we still have to amend that ordinance.
That's correct, and it's sitting, you emailed it to me, Sarah?
I did. I can email it again.
Please.
Okay, and if I need to have something on the agenda for the next meeting, just see that I get it. Okay, discuss and vote on short-term rental survey.
Okay, sorry it's taken a couple of months, but I did contact CML, and they highly recommended a company by the name of National Research Center in Boulder, Colorado. I contacted them. They've sent me a proposal. They do work for cities and towns all across the United States. They have, a different options. You can get a full report, a basic report, they do mail-in ones, you can do online stuff. But basically, the issue is that, the costs are too high. They range from the lowest cost is over $3,000 to up to $6,000. And so I don't feel like it's something that we need to spend that much money on.
Okay,
And plus, it's not been budgeted.
yes.
So just like we had this long discussion there about it. So I'm still, I may contact some other companies or go back to them and see if there's something they can do that wouldn't cost as much.
So do you want to table this for the time being?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Discuss and vote on adding complaint procedure.
I make a motion that we discuss on adding a complaint procedure to our town documents.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a second. We don't have to, we have to
Discussion.
vote.
We discussed now.
We did, we discussed that, that's right. I had a mental lapse. Okay, would you want to explain this to us?
Yeah, this complaint procedure that I emailed you 2 months ago, and it's a draft only, so that we could show up here at the meeting with something other than something written down started. It's just a draft. So it's been available also by email request to Sarah or on the website, both websites in Pitkin and also at the post office. So I guess if we have a consensus to discuss, does anybody have any
Have
changes?
we already published this? Has this been put on the website yet?
Just as a draft, just
Okay.
for people to see that we're curious.
Okay.
This is just the bones of the beginning of our complaint procedure. So has anybody looked at it? Have any?
I've looked at it and I think it's a simple form and it looks pretty straightforward. I'm good the way it is.
The only thing, and I've already mentioned this to you, that anything that comes to me that's doesn't have a name on it will probably go in the round file. If somebody won't even put their name on it, well, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But that's just, if somebody wants to send one, that's entirely their business.
If you, the first email I sent out had the complaint procedure which references the code of conduct. They go hand in hand, they reference each other. Code of conduct was also part of this email I sent out. Did everybody have a chance to look at that, and were there any things that you would like to add or take out? This will be the first document that we will have passed that makes particular things policy, such as following Robert's Rules of Order in town meetings. This code of conduct addresses a lot of very relative situations that the town of Pitkin trustees will find themselves in, and gives direction and also keeps checks and balances. And I realize that our nuisance ordinance will need revised sometime in the future. And it was my understanding that if we pass this code of conduct and complaint procedure, it would be by resolution, which is significantly easier to amend than an ordinance. So at such time as we do get around to bringing our nuisance ordinance up to standards that we want for this day and age, this complaint procedure can, if needed, be amended.
Rachel, we adopted a code of conduct at the CML, in that CML booklet.
Yeah, that booklet is required without adoption, I believe. It's just required.
Well, okay,
But this
yeah.
goes above and beyond for more interactive scenarios.
Okay, so this is going to be a vote to publish?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, may I ask, when you're adopting a resolution, what is the procedure for getting that adopted? Is it published in a newspaper, a resolution?
It doesn't have to be. If it's a resolution with regards to an amendment to the budget, it has to be.
So we would not I guess my question is, I should have looked this up myself to know if we like it as it's written, what's the next step to get it?
Has it been put on the website?
Only as a draft.
Only as draft?
It's also in this form sitting on the counter in the post office.
Well, I would
as a
assume,
draft.
since it's been posted as a draft, if we don't make any changes in it, can we therefore vote to approve? Because everybody's had a chance to read it and see it.
I don't see why not.
We don't,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do it by resolution, correct? We don't
Yes.
have a resolution
We
draft.
have one.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing passed, we'd have to have a resolution though.
We write on the top of it,
Yes,
resolution number.
yeah.
You can
I
do
just
that.
want, I just want to make sure that everybody's had a chance. And since we don't make any, since it's been on the website,
It's been posted
it's been posted,
on 2
and,
websites.
and
for
since
months.
we're not making changes, then I think we can vote to approve.
I think you can, but I would encourage you to request some public comment before you did
Yes.
so.
Okay. Has, Jesse,
Has it been published in the Gunnison Country Times?
don't think so.
No.
And it would probably be published by title only, I'm assuming.
It's my understanding that a resolution
Doesn't have to be.
is not required to be published in the way that ordinances are.
Pete?
Just a couple comments, on the code of conduct. I would suggest perhaps you might want to add to paragraph 2B some reference to the town council quorum requirements, so that it doesn't kind of prevent the violation of the Open Meetings Act. On the complaint process, in the preamble, I think on the first page, and then at the bottom of the form, there's an implication that the person submits an email or anonymous complaint that, according to the mayor, would just be put in file 13. I would suspect that if you receive these written complaints with all this information on them, they would then become public record. If I was a retaliatory person and somebody filed a complaint of me, I would then be able to make an open records request, find out who complained, and I think that sets up an environment that isn't really very conducive to good government. I think that each of the ordinances and resolutions that have regulations established for the town of Pipkin provide a complaint procedure, and none of them require a written complaint. I would further suggest that if any town official receives a complaint, whether they like it or not, they ought to check into it. And certainly frivolous complaints will come to the surface quickly, won't require any action. But if there in fact is a violation, I think it's incumbent upon the town to enforce its ordinances are in effect. So I think it's inappropriate to require a person to submit a form with their name on it and sign it. I think
Well,
because that's public record. If somebody wants to be retaliatory about a complaint being filed against them, they're going to have the opportunity to find out. I know
But
the
if
past-
say,
Mr. Mayor, this isn't a discussion.
okay,
He's got the right to make his comments,
Okay.
as does anybody else.
It's been my experience in the past when Mayor Pinkston has received complaints, I have seen him be confronted and asked who filed the complaint, and he did not provide that information. I think that's the way it should be handled.
see, here we go. And I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I'll give you a specific example. It was about a year and a half ago, and was related to the short-term rental issue, complaints that have been filed, that you have received, you brought to the attention of the town council. There was an accusation that it was a particular individual in the community, which in fact it was not, and you did not name anybody. And I think that's how it should be done. If there was a violation, it should be addressed, and it doesn't matter where the complaint came from.
Somebody should have the right to face their accuser and
And
ask
the accuser
questions.
should be the town council, enforcing ordinances and resolutions that it has adopted and provided within each of those ordinances and resolutions a complaint procedure. In other words, the town should implement its regulations when it comes to their attention that there's a potential violation.
Any other additional comments, Mr. Mayor?
Are there any additional comments?
Sarah had her hand.
I just had a question regarding Pete's comment. And I don't know if this is something that would need to be written in or could be considered, but perhaps, because I've requested reports from different places, and I think it's called a redacted report where certain information is blacked out. So just because a complaint becomes public record, does every aspect of that complaint have to be public record? Or could we cross out the name of the complainant and just...
I don't think Corey gives you the luxury of
Okay.
scratching out names.
I didn't know. That's what I was saying.
I do think the form is excellent. It provides a lot of good information. I just don't think it should be required that the person sign it and a primary witness, or that they place their name on it. And I also think the reference to anonymous complaints being given low priority should be stricter.
May I point out one thing about this complaint procedure is that it does say in the process of complaint, it gives the option a written and signed complaint is submitted to the clerk, and then it is forwarded to all the council members so that there's transparency. And the other option is time-sensitive nuisance complaints made by telephone. So there is not, it's not the writing a complaint with details and information to keep your story solid is not the only option for complaint.
Yeah, I wasn't getting the opinion that, or the idea that this is the only way you can make a complaint. Maybe I'm wrong in reading that. I don't think anybody's saying this is the only way you can file a complaint. I think it's a good option.
And the second thing is, if you wish, it says on the bottom, if you wish to file an anonymous complaint, you may do so by submitting the above information to the town of Pitkin or P.O. Box 9. Please be aware that due to the nature of anonymous complaints, it will be difficult for the town of Pitkin to respond in a meaningful and effective way. It does not say that it will be considered less important.
Jesse?
Not to rebuttal, Pete, but an anonymous complaint could snowball against our council, just complaint after complaint after complaint. Now, having said that, also, if you don't have the backbone to sign it, then probably it ought not be considered. And even an anonymous complaint, if one wants to retaliate, he's gonna hit 14 people trying to find the one that complained to him in the first place. Just food for thought.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, thank you.
May I ask Rachel a question?
Sure you can.
Did you research other towns to pull this together? And if you did, which towns did you look at?
Yes, good question. I contacted the Colorado Municipal League, and I also talked with the Gunnison Sheriff's Office. And most larger towns deal with criminal complaints through their police department and civil complaints through lawyers. And smaller towns don't have this kind of procedure. They have, if you look at the code of conduct that was presented under Section 6 abatement, it talks about how you would deal with personnel issues, and then our nuisance ordinance is where I pulled the meat for the complaint procedure directly out of. So it's all tailored towards what we have currently existing. It just streamlines the process for people so they don't have to come through the nuisance ordinance. And yeah.
And can I make one comment? The reason I was mentioning that, early that we adopted that stuff of the CML handbook was that there was other code of conduct.
Beyond this, yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't we, if we're gonna have a document, why not have it all and all of it in there?
There are, we can add, like Pete was suggesting the sunshine laws. There are code of conducts that are much longer than this. And some of them do have all of all the statutory and state regulations are addressed. So if that's what people feel needs to be added, we could add a line that says that this is a supplement to state mandated rules and procedures. We could definitely-
Conflict of interest type things.
Right. Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Reed.
Regarding the complaint process, the zoning ordinance does have already a very specific complaint process. And I think that you should either exclude the zoning ordinance from this or do something, make sure that it's not in conflict with the process that is in the ordinance. Either you modify this or amend the zoning ordinance. But, when you've got two separate processes that may apply the same thing, you're looking for nothing but conflict, which I know Jim has expressed problems with in the past.
Well, that's a point well taken. When she sent this to me, my mind just went immediately to nuisance ordinance requests, because I do know that building and zoning are already covered, and there is a set process for that.
And in my mind, in creating this was specific to ordinance violations or conduct violations,
Because-
not zoning violations.
Yes, if I
Zoning is an
received
ordinance.
if I received a violation or a complaint on a zoning violation, I would just turn it immediately to the zoning board. That's what I would do.
That could be added for sure. That
Yes.
Well, could you consider limiting this form to the nuisance ordinance and code of conduct? And then all the other ordinances would stand on their own. It's just a thought. Rather than try to exclude zoning out of it, let's tell where this is going to apply. And then that excludes all the other ordinances out of it. And so if we come up with another ordinance for something, and we want its complaint procedure in there, in the ordinance, then we don't have to come back and amend this.
that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, so are we going to have to vote to publish this since we're making changes? Would you like to have time to do some rewrites or what?
Well, let me ask the board, do you feel that this, I agree with the suggestion, but how does everyone else feel about adding that this is supplementary to, this is only supplementary to Colorado Revised Statutes and other mandated, whatever you want to say, code of conduct or ethics and sunshine law, and that way we don't have to, it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't talk about everything, it's mostly about how the Colorado Revised Statutes gives the town officials the right to create policy and procedure, but it doesn't give the in-depth information that's on this, as in, in its entirety. So I agree with that. I think we should add that statement for sure. And then does the board feel that if we want to make these changes, then my suggestion is let me go tweak it. I'll email it to everybody again.
Okay.
I think that should be done.
Clerk will email.
Yes, that's what I meant. I'll email it to Sarah. She'll email it to everybody.
Okay.
And here we go. Okay.
And we will take it up at the next meeting?
Sound good.
Okay. Down to the next item. Do we have a contract for Jim Stoddard?
Well, I provided that to everyone at the last meeting,
Okay.
and I've reached out and sent a copy of it to Jim. Jim had a couple of comments, which are interesting, but I'd like to hear the comments from the board as to the contract that I presented at the last meeting first.
This is a contract for employment.
It's an independent contractor agreement.
I just want to go back and revisit the June minutes from 2015 where you presented 2 ordinances to the board. You made a motion and selected the one to wait to hire a judge until there was an incident. And now we're hiring a judge. Is that what I understand?
Chris, I don't have those minutes in front of me. My recollection is that there was a subsequent vote that they wanted to, within the last year, that they wanted to hire Jim Starr.
Well, the motion was made as an ordinance. We presented ordinance A and ordinance B. So I don't know if there's a written ordinance or not, but that's the way it was written in the minutes.
I'd have to take a look at the written ordinance, and I don't have that in front of me, so.
I have one question about it. It's on here. Under agreement to perform services as an independent contractor, section 8, on 8.11, it says that we will not require the independent contractor to work exclusively for the town. And my question was, back when we voted to pay his licensing fee, one of the questions we asked him was if he was planning on doing other work for other places, and his answer was no. That's why he was asking us to pay his licensing fee, because he wasn't going to have it redone. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
So if they just seem opposite to me.
There's no prohibition from him seeking work elsewhere. You can do whatever he wants.
But that was the whole crux of the issue, is that we paid his licensing fee.
With the understanding
Yeah,
that it
we
wouldn't
would
be
work-
used for anything else.
Yeah, because that doesn't
Otherwise-
make any sense here. Let us pay his licensing fee and then he can do work for other people.
Well,
It's,
he said that he was not going to. If he does, then next year, if he comes to us and he wants money, we can always say no. I mean, you can't take the money back. You can just take it under advisement for next year. And that was handled poorly due to time when the meeting, when the license was going to be due. He just called me up and says he has to do that, and we don't have time to have a meeting, so that's the way it happened. Next year, I will know better, and we will have chance to talk about this. And if he's done work for other people, if he's used his license for other things, then I guess we can just vote to do as we please.
Well, and let's be clear, one of the things that I didn't see anything in here saying that you're responsible to pay for his license. Ultimately, if he is, and this is, addressed in terms of the context of whether or not Sarah was an independent contractor or employee, if a person has no right to work elsewhere, it makes them look like they're an employee as opposed to an independent contractor. And I think you need to be explicit in terms of what the agreement states, saying there's no prohibition on seeking employment elsewhere.
I agree with that statement. I was just confused as to why we did that. The other question I have is if there's no pay, there's no fees or retainer, there's no numbers on here.
Sarah, by chance, do you have the ordinance established in municipal court? Not to put you on the spot, I'm just curious. I don't have it, so I think some of that's addressed in there.
And I didn't have it, I just wanted to
No, I was actually just looking
It
at my
addresses,
agenda.
I think it may have addressed pay, I don't remember.
Well,
But
what-
if it does,
What we talked about is it'd be a yearly retainer of $100 and $300 for each court session.
But I think that
But was that established in the municipal court ordinance, and if so, are we gonna duplicate that in here?
That
And
probably
if that
should be
ever
written
changes,
down.
then-
That should be in writing.
I think that we should table this matter and look into what Trustee Nasso addressed with the ordinance.
So I'm
Well,
just
that's
looking
the
at the
question.
minutes, and it says it was a municipal court ordinance. Attorney McDonald had discussion on the municipal court ordinance. He had 2 ordinances written up to review. And they're both mentioned here, and then there was a motion made by Susie Metzler and seconded by James Sharp, and they voted on the ordinance to wait and then find a judge.
We should see what was signed.
So I don't know if there's an ordinance.
So we should table this
I
for right
think
now.
we should see what was signed.
Okay. We'll table this till September.
And
Okay.
since there's no pending cases, it's not like it's any great loss.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're down to the computer for the town clerk.
Okay, and so I would propose, Mr. Mayor, that we provide resolution number 8. I'm going to read it. It's based upon what I provided you a moment ago with some very simple tweaks. It's a resolution to amend the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget to reflect supplemental appropriations. Resolution number 8. Whereas Section 29.1.109 Colorado Revised Statutes authorizes the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin to approve supplemental appropriations after adoption of the annual budget. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin has determined that the town of Pitkin wishes to purchase a computer for the town clerk. And whereas such computer purchase exceeded the budget allocated for purchase of, isn't it capital purchase?
It would be a capital purchase.
For capital acquisitions. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin desires to amend the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget to reflect a supplemental appropriation to fund the computer purchase. And now therefore it be resolved that the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget shall be amended to reflect a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $600 to fund the purchase of the town clerk's computer. This supplemental appropriation was approved by the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin at its regular meeting on, I don't know what date we did it. It was in July? Or was that in, when was it done?
Last month.
Yeah, it was
I think it was last month, yeah.
And what was the date in July of the meeting?
12.
12.
So at its regular meeting on July 12, 2016, ordered, published, and received final approval September 13, 2016. Well, ordered, published on August 9, 2016, and received final approval September 13, 2016. Be it further resolved that the source of funds for the supplemental appropriation shall be reserves, and be it further resolved that pursuant to Section 29.1.106 sub 3 sub B Colorado Revised Statutes, proper notice of this resolution and the public meeting at which the resolution was approved was provided by publication in the Gunnison Country Times. Introduced, read, and adopted this 9th day of August 2016.
Okay, I guess I will ask for a motion and
I'll make a motion
second.
to approve the resolution to amend the Town of Pitkin 2016 budget to reflect supplemental appropriations to purchase the computer for the town clerk.
Have a
Second.
motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I got a second from you. Okay, any other comments on that?
Just one, couple things. How much is a computer?
The computer is,
$600.
give or take.
Well, this is a capital outlay or an expense? So there's $1,000 budgeted in
There
capital
is.
outlay.
600 of that
Oh, okay.
used.
So, okay, some of it was used, okay. Okay.
But that would cover it, and there would be a little bit in case
Yeah,
anything
okay.
else came up.
Okay. Just, you know, I want to make sure I was aware of that.
Oh, Patrice,
This
yes.
is for all town clerks, like if she retires, the next.
Then
town
she
It will
will,
belong to the
then
town,
she will,
so
then
it's-
she will pass it down.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else on this?
You still want that number? I'm finding it. if you do.
No, I was
Okay.
just.
He
I
satisfied.
understand.
Okay.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor of this
Is
resolution?
there any public comment, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, any comments from the public? Thank you.
Is there any additional discussion?
Any additional comments on this? All right, okay. I've got a motion and I've got a second. Anyone in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Before we move on,
yes.
before we move on, I apologize. I omitted an item on the treasurer's report. Steve reminded me it is for the porta potties. I wasn't sure what to take it out of, and so I forgot to put it on there because I wasn't sure where to take the funds from. So I'm gonna have to add that to the treasurer's report, and I don't know if we need to open it back up then, and also.
How much is it?
As of July, I believe 27th is when I got the first invoice. It was $1,200.
I'm sorry, how much was that again?
1,200.
1,000.
That
Yes.
invoice was dated when?
I believe that was dated July the 27th. It was at the end of July when they emailed that to me.
What's the next one?
The 28th. The invoice was dated the 28th. And the porta potties were picked up today, so I should be getting another invoice, but that'll be next meeting.
Okay, do we have to open back up the budget?
Yeah, because I think we do, because I have to
Okay.
write that in.
If she wants to write that check,
Yeah.
yes, we do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we
I'll
do.
make a motion.
Okay.
Well, did we
And I
complete the
apologize,
vote
that
on?
was,
Yeah, we have.
Yes,
Oh,
you did.
okay, yeah.
sorry. We did.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we already voted.
Okay, so we voted, so then,
Yeah.
Okay, so Brad has made a motion to open this up. Correct? We need a second.
No, we're still voting on the other one.
We're,
I thought we
we're still on
voted.
the other one,
Okay,
which was, did we vote to purchase a computer and publish the resolution to increase the budget?
Yes.
We did.
I
Yes.
have a vote.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll make the motion to reopen
Thank you.
the treasury report.
Second.
okay. And I got a motion and I got a second to reopen the treasurer's report. So do we have to draft a new budget or can we just modify the other one?
I'll modify it but
But what account is it coming out of?
I'm not sure.
Miscellaneous is the answer.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna suggest miscellaneous.
Is there still sufficient money
No.
in miscellaneous?
No, won't all out of miscellaneous, so we're gonna have to
Well,
do
then
another
what,
resolution.
Don't be discouraged. You know, we get to redo this budget looking forward with these kinds of expenses in mind next year. This was not, a lot of these things were not foreseen. We have, Town of Picken has money, we just haven't given our budgets big enough limits, so we
Well,
have to.
we told our constituents what we would have as a budget
Yeah.
and where we would spend it.
My point
And-
is,
And I know, if I may finish, I know we have money, but we need to do this right. So we have to find an account to take the 1,200 out or do another resolution. That's my comment. Okay, and you can disagree.
oh, I don't disagree.
Okay,
It's just growing pains.
understand.
And so you said it's 1,200 up through,
Up through July the 28th. And
There'll be an additional bill.
there will be an additional bill. We can estimate what that will be.
if we could estimate that, that way we have an idea of
So-
what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Let me see. Every time there were, at that point, we would have, let's see, service, 6 porta potty units is $360 per service, and that happened every Tuesday. And plus an additional $360 for today, which is when they picked up 3, because they picked up 3 last week. And so from last Tuesday to today, there were only 3 porta potties. And so today was, so let me get out a calendar. what we are looking at is for, okay, so this was up through July 19th that this invoice covered. So we're looking at the 26th of July, which is going to be $720. We are looking at the 2nd of August, which is going to be $720. And we are looking at the 9th of August, which is going to be $360. No, that is not right. We're looking at 360, 360, and 180. I apologize. 360, 360, and 180. So 720 plus 180, $900. That's what we're looking at.
Top of it.
On top
top
of
of
the 12, so a total of
20.
$2,100.
Wow.
Starting to look like an engineered septic would be pretty useful on.
That's coming on the agenda.
Well, that's gonna take another supplemental budget appropriation.
Yeah, there's
Looks
no
like it.
line items that have that kind of money.
No.
Now, if the board would like, I can request that we pay the total amount after our next meeting so that we can make the resolution and then pay it out. I didn't know if that would be the best idea.
What are their payment terms?
Pay as soon as possible.
Oh,
That's what it says.
is that what it says?
I believe it does.
Separate.
Yeah.
Well, it says, okay, I'm looking here, there is no due date on this invoice.
Did we sign
However,
any contract with them?
we did not. It says that past due accounts will be charged 24%, but there's not due date. I don't think we should, I mean, I think it would be nice if the town paid this sooner than later, if everybody feels comfortable doing that.
Is there any money in the miscellaneous account?
There is zero money in the miscellaneous account because, yeah, zero, sorry.
So we need to add 900 plus this invoice you have.
2100.
Right, 900 will be coming up. I have not yet received an invoice for that, but I'm expecting it.
Okay, so it'll be total 2,100.
That's correct.
I would think that a call to town, say we have to pass a supplemental budget, you know, the town and procedural stuff.
Okay,
And,
I'm
you know,
happy
I
to do
mean,
that.
And then it could be done next month, but since you don't even have the other vote yet.
Right,
And I was gonna say, they didn't give us any idea on payment terms.
Yeah. I mean,
that's true.
30 days, 60 days.
I'm pretty sure that as long as we get the money
Said
then.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make that phone call. But-
Okay, so, for next month, we have to do another
Porta potty
resolution on
resolution.
porta potties. Okay,
So the treasurer's report then doesn't have to be reopened. We can just keep it, and I will void this check.
okay,
No, what I need to do is bring my laptop and have a printer here and then just do, bang, here it is. I thought about that on the drive over. I was like, okay, that's the solution.
okay,
We need to fill
now
the
we're
motions.
down to,
So do I just leave it at that? Sorry.
okay, I thought we're down, I'll be down to new business now?
We need to table Brad's motion.
Well, I will table my motion.
Okay.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure, I'm trying to write and keep things going at the same time. Okay, we're down to new business, vote on zoning board member. We have two people that have expressed, interest. Is Ralph Bush here? Okay, right, just to stand up. I'm taking this in alphabetical order, Ralph Bush and then Susie Metzler in case anybody wonders. So Ralph, you have the floor.
Okay, so just a brief history of what I've done. I've got a degree from Texas A&M University in Environmental Design in '91. The last 25 years, I've been in the architecture, construction, development, and zoning business. I currently am an interim member of a board that is advising the mayor of Dallas on zoning issues and trying to clean up some of their zoning ordinances and zoning processes. I've been part of utility companies in East Texas, privately owned, that we go in and clean up all their infrastructure and then turn around and sell them. So I've got quite a bit of history in both the utility side as well as construction, zoning, any kind of information. I've been steeped in it for quite a long time. So I'd love to serve on board and serve the town people.
Okay, Ralph, thank you. Is Susie Metzler here?
She's not.
She's not. Did you
Would you like
want
me to
to,
read
she
it?
did send a letter if you would like to read it.
Do you have that?
I probably have it in my stack.
It's here. Okay.
Okay.
All right, this is a letter from Susie Metzler. Dear Mayor Pinkston and Pitkin Town Board of Trustees, I would like to be considered for the open position on the Pitkin Zoning Board of Adjustment. Since I moved here in 1996, I have served in the late 1990s and early 2000s on the zoning board and found it interesting. I resigned when it was decided that the same people who are on the town board should not also be on the zoning board. This is because when a property owner is not happy with the decision of the zoning board, the property owner can appeal the decision to the town board of trustees, and the town decided to limit the number of zoning board members who were also serving as town trustees. I have attended meetings of the zoning board of adjustments many times, even when I was not a member of the board out of interest, and I served on the Pitkin Town Board of Trustees until April 2016 for 19 years. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Susie Metzler.
Okay. I guess we could ask Ralph any questions if anybody wants to, but Susie's not here, so before we vote, thought I'd throw it up around the board and see what they say.
Do you need to be a resident to be on the board, or does that matter?
That's my recollection.
Well, we've had people in the past that were not full-time residents. Ralph has told me that he is. I mean, yes, he's staying up in the, he's in the forest for 4 months of the year, up Mosquito, but he's not, I don't think you have to be
Can I
an
clarify that?
actual.
Would you like me to clarify that?
Sure.
Okay, so I have a year-long lease at 724 State Street that I occupy for 8 months out of the year, and I lease back to Jessica and Jared for 4 months. Also, we have 8 lots under contract at 6th and State Street that will be closing either later this week or the following week, depending on how my schedule works out. And then we're going to be starting construction here in the next calendar year. So that's kind of the way everything stands. We're going to stay at State Street again for another year during construction, and then we'll be in our own home.
Okay. Any comments from the board or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I believe that the requirements according to the zoning code is that you be a full-time resident for a year. So does 8 months,
We need to look it up.
8 months is 8 months considered a full-time residence, I guess?
Well,
I can look at it.
well, that would kind of bring the meeting to a little bit of a halt, but,
I can watch the video. I don't know if.
but we need somebody to take minutes.
Right.
Minutes.
Yeah.
We need,
I believe, but I don't think there's anything that says you have to live in Colorado or at your residence for 8 months out of the year to be a permanent resident of that address.
Doesn't say permanent, it says full-time.
Okay, full-time. Is there a definition that says full-time?
I would think it'd be 12 months, wouldn't it?
No, actually, I believe the central legal question is the present intent to reside there permanently. Plus historical issues based upon your place of employment, the location for your driver's license, and historical behavior patterns. It's a loosey-goosey issue, and if you don't like it, the Golden Dome in Denver is where you should address your complaints, because the residence definition is inherently a gray area.
Jesse?
In order to vote April 5th last spring, we had to be registered as a resident of Pitkin for 22 days prior to that. If that clarifies anything
Okay.
as being a permanent resident.
That's, yeah.
I don't know
Well-
if there's anything that says what defines a full-time resident.
I have a question,
Yes, Rich.
Mr. Mayor. In the past, I believe this was just answers, in the past, have non-full-time residents served on the zoning board?
Yes.
So why does,
We've done it. I know, I'm pretty sure, Jesse, weren't you, on the zoning board at one time?
No.
No, I thought you
No,
were.
I attended the meetings and was
Okay.
nominated, and
Okay.
at that time, I was not a permanent resident.
Okay, I thought you might have been.
But at that time, 5-member board, at least 3 had to be full-time members. Now, I don't know if that's changed since then. That was 2012.
Because I thought that you had to be a resident for a year to serve on the board. Unless it's written somewhere, I'm not aware.
Okay, the most recent zoning board, section 18A, the board of zoning adjustment shall consist of at least 3 members, but not more than 5 members. All members shall be full-time, year-round residents of the town of Pitkin and property owners within the town of Pitkin. The town of Pitkin Board of Trustees shall appoint the members of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. It does not define, it just says
Okay.
full-time.
So I guess I would ask the attorney if, does Mr. Bush fall under that, does he fall under those guidelines?
I would submit to you that the definition of a full-time resident, year-round resident, you can't simply take a two-dimensional document like that zoning code and compare it to the nuances of the election code. I would submit to you that it's based upon the manifest intent to reside in a place permanently. You determine what that means. But my question would be, how would the district attorney address that? And since I haven't seen her report, which I expect to see in the very near future, that might provide some guidance in terms of how to address that question.
my comment would be that the zoning code that Corey just read does not say a year prior.
Yeah, it doesn't say
It
12 months
says
prior.
a full, and knowing Mr. Bush's intentions and his qualifications, that he
No, I
intends, has been, intends to, and will continue residing in Pitkin.
Pete?
As a full-time resident.
Well, I would like to make a comment that had I known it was possible for a non-resident to become a member of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, I would have put my name forward with 35 years of public service, serving as Secretary for the Area Planning Commission, Master's degree in Regional Community Planning, eminently qualified to do that sort of thing, but, if it's not required, I would have liked to know that so I could volunteer.
Right. Did it say on?
I thought that's what it did.
I have a second comment. And no offense, Mr. Wick, but if it is true that we aren't double seating the zoning board, are you still a zoning board member at this time?
Okay. What they didn't want was more than one trustee on the zoning board. Mr. Sharpton has served on the zoning board many years and was the only trustee on the board. I'm currently in the only trustee on the board.
Yes, it does. All members will be full-time year-round residents of the town of Pitt County, property owners within the town of Pitt.
And it says property owner.
So it is.
It's an interesting little conundrum because if I were a renter in the town of Pitkin, I'd sue y'all.
Yep. There's no way you can enforce that.
But that's just me.
It does say that you have to be a property owner.
That was my comment, James, is if I was a renter in the town of Pitkin and wanted to serve on the board, I'd sue y'all and win.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think property ownership can be a determination of.
Public service.
I
Residents, absolutely. Ownership, I don't know if I buy it. Age, yes. They probably have to be 18 or older. But I don't think that the ability to, it sounds fairly draconian. It makes me think of like colonial America. Just odd.
I just never thought that accepting a volunteer would be so controversial. Chris?
I move the previous question. Means I want to end the debate and vote on it.
You want to ask the question, call the question,
Okay.
and we vote to
I need a
suspend debate.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of suspending debate signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so are we therefore then ready to vote?
To vote.
Okay, I guess we can just do it by a show of hands, and I guess I would take them in alphabetical order. So I would ask for a show of hands of who is in favor of Ralph Bush. Okay, but that's 5, and Susie Metzler, 2. And I hope we don't have any legal action over a volunteer. Okay. To talk about and vote on sharing dumpster costs with the PHCA. I'm not in the mood to revise the budget again unless somebody has an awful good reason.
Whose idea is this?
It was put forward at the last meeting. The PHCA had a dumpster for people to throw trash in. Somebody cleaned up their backyard and filled it. And it was suggested that maybe the town would share cost of another one. So I put it on here. And, personally, I think if somebody wants to clean out their garage or their backyard, they ought to do it. So I guess at this point, I would ask for a motion and a second to see if anybody is interested. I didn't think so.
I'm not fond of Steve, but interested in what.
Discuss it.
Yeah. Is there going to be a motion and a second? to
Yeah, I'll
talk-
make a motion, I'd like to discuss sharing dumpster costs with PHCA.
Okay. Was
I'll
there a
second.
second? Oh, okay. It's open now.
My thoughts would be, Steve, I understand not wanting to amend the budget again, but we could definitely in the future, maybe for next calendar year, look into budgeting this kind of a thing, because as a community service, it's just a perk for the taxpayers to be able to have the ease of cleaning up the town, and we can absolutely expand on the ideas that Mr. Winchett suggested last month, the areas that were lacking in advertising and accepting donations and posting what can and can't go in. I mean, it's a great idea. I think it's a great opportunity for us to give the community. Perhaps we could consider putting it on the budget for next year.
Last time that we did this, we had a large mess to clean up that was next to the town hall. And rather than bring in a rollback dumpster, we just had them set a regular dumpster and they dumped it every week. And it was, at the time, it was, of course, the prices have gone up. At the time, it was like $22 a week. I think it's $35 now. but it was a lot cheaper to do that than to have the the big dumpster brought out. So
I
that,
think we just need to explore options, and I think it's pretty nice that PHCA's offered to do some cost sharing with this. I think it's a good community service, and they obviously kind of bit the bullet up front and said, let's do it to see what it. I mean, I think Gary had a pretty good list from last month of kind of do's and don'ts and their lessons learned there. I mean, I don't know if we have it in the budget. I mean, obviously we're having budget issues already, but I think it's a good idea. We need to potentially discuss this, whether we do a roll off or we do just a small dumpster and pay it weekly. I think it's something we ought to consider. I think it was obviously well received by Gary. When was it full? Like day 2 or day 3?
day one.
Day 1.
I think the town supporting a dumpster to get rid of trash is a good thing. Doing it with PHCA is probably a good thing. I think it needs to be administered a little better so it doesn't get filled up with wood on day one.
Yes.
So I would support this if there were somebody who was going to stand up and say, I'm going to manage it and we're going to keep the wood out and we'll let whatever we want to collect get in there.
I think that's what I was saying. It's good. I mean, Gary's probably got some pretty good insight as in, next go around, how do we improve this?
And I would suggest we budget it for next year.
Tom?
Does the city have somewhere where we can burn wood?
Not on town property, no. We haven't
Could you
got
do
it.
a private lot in the wintertime?
I guess I'd have, of course, Rand had a burn pit on his property, as you come into town, but he sold that to, Susie, as I understand, and I don't know what the status is. Gary?
Mr. Mayor, responding to a couple of things that have come up, Brandon and I have had a fairly continuing search for a spot to burn the wood, because that was one of the real big fallacies of the first dumpster, was so much wood was collected, and my fireplace only does one little pile every morning, so I couldn't keep up. But if Tom would want to find a spot so that we could, maybe he has an acreage where it would be safe in the wintertime, that might be a good option. The other thing, we had not considered a weekly pickup kind of thing, but the math does work out very nicely because it costs us about $650 for the roll-off dumpster. One of my dreams is there's a couple of spots in town that I've been trying to get rid of tires for 10 years, and I'd like, that was an extra cost, but the PHCA does have some budget, and we could, I could probably commit to a weekly pickup for about 6 or 8 weeks to test it, if that would be, if then the town council would think in terms of sharing with us in 2017, we could pick up 10 weeks would be $350. Is that, we could pick up 10 weeks that would take us into the fall, and we could do the research on the wood. If you all would be really excited about maybe participating through this, at least maybe half the year next year. But I kind of like the idea of having a weekly pickup. That would, and I think we could probably figure out some ways of tires or something that I think we could probably pick up 10, 15 tires, and we would pay for those. So would that be helpful if we would pick up the next 10 weeks of a weekly pickup?
Well, the big advantage to a weekly pickup is if you've got a problem, you can catch it and then make changes. If you put a big dumpster out there and then there's one big oops where somebody builds a house and throws the excess in there, then the dumpster's full. But are we talking about doing this for next year? Okay, so we'll have to get this on next year's budget then. Jesse?
While we are considering that, I think it might be wise to consider your porta potties in the 17 budget also, so you don't get the crack that we were in this year.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. We need to make a note to get those items on the 2017 budget.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to point out to you that everybody wants to drive a Cadillac, but the tax income for the town of Pitkin's probably a little bit better than the Yugo.
I understand that.
Throwing that out there.
These items are going to be talked about, and if we can't find the money, then we will have to start trimming things. And we're gonna have to do some serious head scratching to find this money. So do we have to vote, or we're just gonna put that on the 2017 budget? So we don't have to really vote it? Because if we can't find the money, we can't find the money. The money, if we find it, will be voted in the 2017 budget. Okay, now, the subject of public restrooms came up. Chris brought that up, and this is something we can also just, of course, we can't do anything right now, but we can figure out what we would like to do, plan to do, talk about. Does anybody have any comments on this?
I make a motion that we discuss the possibility of getting a public restroom.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I've got a second. The subject is open for debate.
I'll just point out, this isn't something new. This is just something that's never been worked on since last year. There was discussion about this. There was back and forth.
We've talked back and forth.
There's
Yes.
back and forth of whether do you get a survey or do you have an engineer? Where do you go first? I mean, I think we need to start at least planning. Is there money for it? Probably not. But,
Are the grants?
unless y'all want to eat $2,100 plus a year
I guess
porta potties, because
that's a lot of money. It's more than I thought it would be. And I guess the first thing to talk about is, are you talking about restrooms with a septic or a Forest Service style porta potty, which is not cheap either. Those are what, I think they're about 40 grand for a 2-holder is what I was thinking.
And that's a ball.
That's a ballpark.
And you pump, right?
I don't know how often, I don't know what the Forest Service, I know the people come by and stir them, Galen.
I believe Pitkin's adaptation of 43 prohibits new ones in Pitkin. You can't install a new one in Pitkin.
Okay, so we cannot do that.
and
Okay.
I personally, I don't know why people keep going back to the Forest Service thing. This is not the Forest Service problem. Would it be nice? Yeah, but it's not the Forest Service problem. And I don't think it's fair to the Silver Plume or the PHCA's museum to say, here's the public restrooms. And porta potties, that was $2,100 for 2 months. What do you do for June and May? At some point, we need to own this problem. This is a town problem. How do you fix it? You don't go, oh, Forest Service, can you help us? Oh, so-and-so, can you help us?
Well,
We just need
I
to own this and figure out a
I
solution.
said a Forest Service style porta potty.
Well, there was a bunch of discussion about trying to split this with the Forest Service.
Well,
in the
we've talked
past.
about that too. So I guess that basically somebody's gonna have to come up with some rough estimates. Rachel?
If we move to refer this to a committee, would there be anyone interested in forming a committee to present to the board the options as they have researched?
Might I suggest that such committee cap its membership from the Board of Trustees at 2?
There you go.
Right.
Or not even, doesn't have to be even 2 of us.
Yeah.
Those that are interested in helping come up with possible solutions.
We have no staff. If we had staff, we could delegate this task down to go find out how much toilets would cost. And you're right, we need some help.
So, yeah. Is there anyone that would be willing to volunteer to be on that committee? Would that be a fair question to ask?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
we do have a volunteer.
You have to be a resident?
No, sir.
No.
No. Would you like to volunteer?
I think you just did.
Okay.
So there's,
I'm not volunteering, but I do have a comment. I don't know if the board or the members of the audience know that PHCA did approve to have the museum open for public restrooms. They're flushing toilets. And of course, we have the town hall porta cans, or what do you call these down here? And the last few days, since the number of porta potties have been reduced at the Silver Plume, people have been inundating Lynn, wanting to use her use her restrooms as well as other businesses.
it's a need, it's a,
Yeah.
So the museum will be closing shortly. I think we decided to leave the museum bathrooms open through.
September 10th, then we'll have to shut down that toilet.
But that's only maybe 5 days a week.
No, it's 7 days.
so we have
I thought it was only when the museum was open.
No, it's all the time, 24 hours a day.
Oh.
Yes, Eddie.
And so, from my understanding, we can't do a vault, right?
Right.
So, the consideration's probably either gonna be porta potties or land where they can install a septic system.
A big one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's gonna have to be pretty sizable based on how many people were in and out of the porta potties and how many people are going to the museum. So I mean, if we're gonna do a committee, that's probably something they need to estimate is how many people does it have to handle? I mean, you can't even go about getting bids for.
Well, and we can use some of the information about how many times they were pumped.
Sarah, do you-
I was just gonna say, I spoke with Jen at Gunnison County Construction and Septic regularly, and she reported that the porta potties were absolutely slammed every time that they emptied them out.
Don't doubt it.
So, I mean, we probably could have used even more than what we had to keep things from piling up too much. There was even a time, there was even, a couple times when I had to go and put notices and say, do not use this porta potty. It's completely full.
Patrice?
So there was
Do you
a
have a
lot
A
of
good
comment?
example is Lake City. They have a public toilet right there in the middle of their town.
They have several of them.
But they do have one right in the middle, which could go right out here, that type of thing.
But they have a central wastewater system too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a big septic.
can I call the question, which was, well, we had 2 volunteers for a committee in the audience. Do we want to go that route?
Yeah.
I'd say that would be the first step.
And Ryan? Are there any?
Yeah, that'd be the first step.
I would add on, I mean, I'd like to, I guess if we're gonna establish a committee, let's establish a committee and then give them some direction. Not let this just be an open-ended public bathrooms thing. They need to have some pretty specific direction of what's expected.
Well,
and what would be useful information.
and the main thing that I would suggest is that we come up with some potential sites that the city owns, that they could actually put a system like that down. And I don't know if we have the appropriate surveys.
Well, I guess the first thing we probably have to do is find out how big of a field are we gonna have to have.
Yeah.
See, many years ago, we bought 2 extra lots next to the town hall in case we ever wanted to do anything there, but I don't think it's gonna be big enough.
Yeah. We own 13 acres at the end of town.
Yeah.
That's in the wetlands.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we'd have to expend there, but I was just trying to think,
What about 9th Street across from the Plume? That lowland there?
Well, what we need to do first is get these people working and somebody do some research and find out how big the field has to be. and what we have to have,
Yeah.
you know, because this may have to be, judging from the response that we had on the porta potties, this may have to be really big. I don't know. But the last thing you want to do is put it in this one place and then it's not big enough. Yes?
I was in Crested Butte a couple times this year. They have two different parks. Both of them have the one that you go in for the men and one on the other side for the women. And they're not flushable. So I don't know how those work, but I know that they're public restrooms and they're right there in the town.
But I think that what we're saying is that 43 says you can't do that.
Right, we opted out of that, allowing them.
Yes, so then
It's
this,
not that 43, excuse me.
What is it? You put water in it, then you pump the water out and you take the water somewhere else. I think that's the problem with the vault. See, we're not supposed to move the water.
I don't think 43
It isn't 43.
prohibits
Isn't.
vaults. It's the town of Pitkin, I believe.
Right.
Prohibited
Pitkin opted
vaults.
not
So
to allow them
that's something that
in adopting.
we could consider changing that ordinance.
this is something that the people on this are gonna have to come up with possibly several different options.
Right.
And I don't think that the town
Water. Right.
should say, this is what we want, draw it up. I think that these people should talk about several options and come back with several ideas.
I think it should be an issue that's raised within Matt's questionnaire. You want to have a questionnaire or survey with regards to the one issue. I would submit to you that this is an issue that maybe it's something to add into the survey. Just throwing that out there.
It certainly could be.
But
everybody on the bathroom.
for somebody to answer the survey question, possibly they might have to know something about cost and possibly how much that their taxes might go up.
Right.
Gary?
Mr. Mayor, I unfortunately am having to use an old computer which has all of the grant information on it from when we restored the town hall, and I did that process. So there might, I submit to you that if Pete and Ralph come up with a plan, then I would be willing to do some research about some money.
Okay.
And one of the issues is where you locate it. If you could figure out to locate it in connection with town hall, there might be some of the same funding sources available to us. Or more remote, well, we could talk about that, but I'll just volunteer that there might be some sources for funding. This is something Pitkin has needed desperately for the 40 years I've been here.
I definitely
Mr. Wendy,
agree.
would you be the third party, the third person on the committee?
Gary's not here that much.
He knows my phone number.
I mean, I welcome his help, and he can write, I would definitely ask him to write the grant, but I think it'd be difficult for him to physically attend meetings. Is this right, or?
And I would also suggest this, that if the committee can come up with a plan, I would be more than happy to draft that plan and actually put it in presentation form as far as construction documents, anything else. So if we do need to get bids or whatever, I can handle that as part of my duties to the committee.
Okay, I think we probably ought to go ahead and call a vote. Forming this group shouldn't, we do have volunteers and we're not committing money. We're just asking for ideas.
Mr. Mayor, it should be a 3-person committee, not a 2-person committee.
Well, yes.
So
I
just
said we should
confirming.
form it.
Okay.
and we have 2 volunteers.
Yes.
And we got 3,
Number 3.
Okay.
okay? Anybody else?
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to do the committee?
You should.
okay,
I make a motion that we form a 3-person committee to research and the idea of a public restroom in Pitkin.
okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Any more public comment? Gary?
Mr. Buchanan's limit of 3 for the committee might turn out to be bind that the committee might not want to be in.
More than 3 people want to work on it. Yay! Someone wants to bail? Ooh.
Yeah.
3, okay.
You know, if
I'm willing to
3,
amend
4,
the
5,
motion
6
to
people want to
3
do
or
it,
more.
sweet.
I second your amendment.
Okay, is there any more comments from the board? Are we limiting this to 3 people?
No, I made an amended motion to 3
Okay.
or more.
Okay, I like that.
Rachel seconded.
And she second. Okay, is there any more comments from the board? Okay, then I would ask for a vote. All in favor of approving this group, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I abstain.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
Yes.
guys, for
Yes.
volunteering to look into this.
Okay.
And I assume y'all have enough direction to work on.
Now we're down to talking about the testing on the creek water, which has kind of already come up. Eddie, I sent you some information on it. Can you?
Mr. Mayor, can you explain the background first? I think it is important that this issue is at the very least addressed in the context of what we're talking about, what happened, and what steps you're taking to address it.
Okay, there was some testing done on the creek. Mr. Reed performed a test and said he found some E. coli. So then the town, me and Mr. Reed at one point, and I went with Brad one time, and we tested some more just to kind of have an idea of what we have. You know, and what we're talking about here is if we continue to do the testing, really we need to hire a professional. If for one thing he knows, because you have to take water temperature, air temperature, you have to test all this stuff, you got to test the flow. If it ever came down to any kind of court case, anything that we did as just people would not hold up. It would all be thrown out. So if we are going to continue to test the water, we probably need to hire a professional. So that's what we're talking about. Brad?
Okay. We got information from Picard, Dale Picard, who runs the testing lab for the city. Gunnison, City of Gunnison. I also went and talked to Dr. Ken Alexander at Western State College. Kevin Alexander at Western State College in the biology department. And I told him what the board wanted to know was, were we contributing, to the pollution of Quartz Creek? And he came back, had a nice chat, and he thought about it, and he came back in an email, because he had to research some of the state requirements, how the way they test and develop guidelines, how the testing ought to be. And he came back and said, we need to take 4 samples in a year. And he gave the dates. And he recommended only 2 samples, kind of one above town, one below town. And when you send these samples in, he recommended you send them in blind, so the lab processing, it doesn't know where it comes from. And you also stick in some control samples in there, one that has none, one that has a known amount, to make sure the lab is measuring it all correctly. I asked him what would he charge us to go do that. And to come out and do the 4-period samples, he would charge us $1,700. And the estimated lab cost is around $600. And I have the bill from the city already for $240. So the total on this would be about $2,500. It'd take a year, but it would, in his determination, come back to say the town's got a problem or the town doesn't have a problem.
Okay.
But that's what he recommended. And that varied quite a bit from other input from Mr. Picard, by quite a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris?
I want to go back to what I did earlier. I think there's probably people sitting out here wondering what's going on. What initiated this whole process, where it all started, who started it. And I'm kind of not up to speed on why we're even doing this.
Well, because it's been alleged that there's a problem with the creek water and it's our fault. Because of the testing, the letter to the attorney, the state, and so.
This is a result of the letter from Mr. Reed?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And I thought that this is something that we need to talk about. And I sent some information to Eddie on the tests and kind of asked for his opinion. Do you think that there are levels of E. coli to be concerned of?
Well, let's just start at the beginning. Why was this initiated and who initiated it? Okay, I believe Mr. Reed initiated that. Brad, did you make some calls to the state?
I did not call the state.
You didn't call the state? Have you
No.
talked with anybody from the state about stream water quality?
The state called me
Well, I'm just asking.
after they got his letter, and they asked me some background information, and they were just, I was a point of contact that they had for our septic ordinance.
Okay. And so then you initiated the stream sampling?
No, I did not.
I probably did.
Okay,
But
so,
Ramon pulled a sample, came up to my house, said the creek failed for E. coli. That was just a pass-fail test. It didn't say how many.
right.
All right. So Steve and I took 5 samples across town, just to determine how bad this is or how bad it is not.
Right.
Okay. That's all we did.
Okay. I guess one of my first concerns is, we've been discussing this evening about the budget and the situation that the town is in budget-wise. Did you poll, was there any discussion as far as getting approval for the town to pay for these water samples?
I probably okayed it, just to pay for the lab costs.
I was going to say, as far as I know, the town has not yet paid for any of this. I haven't received a bill.
No.
You haven't received the bill, but I did.
Yes.
They didn't mail it to the town's
I see.
P.O. box.
But it's being billed to the town,
Yes,
to the amount of how much?
$240
$240 today.
today.
Is there more outstanding
I don't know.
samples?
I don't know. I only took the 5 with Steve, and that
Yeah.
wasn't $240.
Okay. Well, I talked with Steve. He explained that you guys had gone out and taken some samples, and there was concern about the contamination from somebody's septic system. That's kind of what initiated all of this, right? Would you say that's right, Mr. Reed?
This is not a give and take. This is, let's
Okay.
talk about the
So,
issue. and let-
Steve
then
explained,
you can comment.
Steve explained to me that this was initiated by Mr. Reed and that he and Brad went out and took some samples. And
The mayor.
Yes.
Steve and
that's correct.
Brad
Yeah.
went out and took some samples. And these samples, the results thereof, I've looked at them, and I can tell you, based on the state of Colorado's water quality stream classifications, the amount of E. coli that showed up is extremely low.
It's 1/6.
Yes, it's what?
1/6.
1/6 of what?
The stream quality value that the state sets for agricultural interest, according to Dr. Alexander.
Well, I use something that's even more stringent, which is recreational class, and it's 126 units per 100 milliliter samples, correct?
That's what Kevin Alexander stated,
Okay,
which is
So-
1/6 of about what we measure.
1/6 of, so what was the highest reading you
I
had?
thought it was like 18 on that first set. and I
18,
haven't seen the
okay.
second.
So when we're talking about recreational class waters, that's waters where people are swimming and ingesting the possibility of ingesting water.
Well, Kevin Alexander didn't use recreational class, he used agricultural interest, and I just present what he gave me, Eddie.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to do is point out that the samples that were taken, and you use a geometric mean, so did you quantify that? Did you do the geometric
We
mean?
don't have enough samples.
But you can still calculate it.
Well,
But anyway,
Eddie,
what I'm
Eddie,
saying is
the point-
that the limit that you came up with was 18. The state's classification for recreational water is 126. And so what I hear you asking is to spend another couple $1,000s to have Mr. Alexander do some more sampling.
I'm just presenting what he presented to me.
Right. And aren't you
We
presenting
as a
that to
board,
us to?
Eddie, we as a board need to decide if we need to sample the stream water or not,
That's
not an
right.
individual.
And that's what I'm trying
But
to do, is to point
we-
out.
At the time when Mr. Reed approached the mayor and I, we had no idea what the E. coli level was, nor did we know if it was a problem. And if the mayor and I hadn't taken the samples, we wouldn't have known.
Well,
The
actually,
reason-
there's a study that was done by the USGS in 2001 and 2002. And there's a copy of it. I didn't make copies for everybody, but you can go on the website, and you can pull it up, and you can look and see what the study back then showed.
Eddie,
And is it different today?
can we cut to the chase? You're seeing, look, I'm critical of additional
You know, Jim,
spending.
Steve's the mayor, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Doesn't he
I
run the
depend
meeting?
on Jim though. Jim,
Okay.
Jim's my right hand
Okay.
man.
Well, you
So,
talk
cut to
over,
the chase. The point is this. There's sampling been done. The town is being asked to pay for it, even though it was never approved. If you look at the numbers, it shows there is no concern.
Well, first of all, would it make you feel better if I paid for it?
No,
The-
Steve, because you explained to me the situation that you felt you were in.
Because
You were
I'm-
getting hammered by Mr. Danielson.
I knew that at this meeting, we were gonna have to talk. And I wanted more readings. I wanted something to talk about. I wanted your opinion. And if people can swim in water that's 126 parts, and we've only got 18,
We don't have a problem.
There's no problem.
that's what I wanted to find out.
That's cut to the chase.
Yeah,
There's no problem.
That's what well, see, this is what I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out, do we have a problem? Because if we did not do any testing, we couldn't sit in here and vote on it. And I think we found out that, you know, that there isn't a real problem because we are way under what people are allowed to swim in.
I will go ask Dr. Alexander. You see, the agricultural interest would be different, I think, than the recreational. And why the recreational number and this agriculture number that he gave me are the same, I don't understand.
And I could show you the information from the state and from the EPA if you want to look at it. It says 126.
I just,
Madam
I just presented what he would say it would cost to determine if the town was creating a problem. That's all I'm presenting.
Proving it's not.
May I make?
Yes.
It's my understanding that the state fish hatchery below town also regularly tests their water. And that's a source of information that we could request to receive when they get those tests so that we can monitor.
But they
What-
sample stream, they don't take out of the stream. The
Right.
fish hatchery?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel, I've talked with Chip a little bit.
Do they
They do a water monitoring on their basically their what's coming out of
The
the
spring.
spring.
Yeah.
But they only monitor. I can't remember what he was telling me, but the extent that they use the stream water is not
Okay.
what they monitor there. I can get more details from what they monitor, but I think because out of the spring, that's what runs most of the fish hatchery. That's what they're mainly concerned with. I think there's still some. I'll ask Chip to find out.
Okay, I guess at this point, I would like to ask if there's any public comment. Yes, Pete.
I would like to ask, if I may, Mr. Balch, if there's a significant difference in this 18 level now compared to the study done 15 years ago.
In 2001, 2002, as far as the constituents for E. coli, they put it as no concern. The number of exceedances was 0. The 85th percentile was 6. So I would say the numbers are pretty close to being the same.
Okay.
And Brad, you just did something,
We don't have enough data.
Well, I'm talking about public comments now, and then I'll come back. Jesse.
I've spent my own money to document myself, and I've taken samples by Dale's specifications with my grandson in the middle of the creek, and there is 13 points less immediately below 724 State Street than immediately above it. There's a 100-foot gap, 13 points less below my property, Mr. Reed. Thank you.
Okay, we're not going to debate this. Are there any other public comments?
Yeah, I'll say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about this was coming, so I've been reading about a little bit. I'm not an expert, but I'll tell you what I found. Because they said that E. coli can live in soil, water, and intestinally tracted animals, including deer, moose, cattle, and sheep. Does anybody ever see any of these animals near the water around here? So the source of the thing is very wide open. It can vary widely with just a few hours of testing from one level to another. And the news down here would have been if we found no E. coli. It's almost impossible to take untreated pond or stream water and not find it. It's virtually impossible. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, you've already spoken once, Jesse.
I'd like a PS.
Well, just make it really short,
Okay, I've
please.
done some research and visiting. BLM has done a lot of research and testing right here in the Emerson Sanitation Department. Every contributory to the Blue Mesa Reservoir has some levels of E. coli. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, I kind of forgot. Have we motioned and
No.
seconded this yet?
No.
Well,
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, you can.
I would submit to you that the question of whether or not additional testing is necessary or required is moot until such time as you have a meaningful conversation with the state, given the present status where they have requested a conference by the end of this month.
Okay.
I would further submit the presence or the lack thereof of E. coli in Quartz Creek in the year 2001 and the price of tea on the backside of the moon are equally relevant to the present discussion.
Probably so. So, would it be best to table this till after we talk with the state?
I would submit to you, Mr. Mayor, that the idea that the meeting be held as a public session, or not a public session, pardon me, but as a public hearing, seems reasonable in that instead of just making it a phone call, you put it on the agenda that you address this issue immediately thereafter.
Okay.
That way you kind of don't wait, you kill two birds with one stone, and if there's necessary action, you've got the ability to do so, and if there's not, well, then it's a very short follow-up maybe.
Okay.
Not a public hearing, but a public meeting, pardon me.
So are we even going to vote on this? Then no.
I would say we just table it.
That, okay.
I mean, I didn't bring it up, but
Well, I think we should table it then.
till after this further.
Yeah, after we talk with the state. But it does not look at the present time like testing is going to be warranted.
I don't think they have a health hazard.
No, I don't either. Okay. We've got, okay, I put this on there to draft a new short-term rental ordinance. And we're gonna have to have a work session. We can't hammer. Yes? Gary?
Mr. Mayor, I submit to you that the comments of your council are unprofessional and you ought to look for a new one.
Comments on what?
Your lawyer is acting unprofessional in the kinds of wording and the comments he's making about what your board is doing.
Okay, we will take that under advisement.
Thank you.
On the short-term rental ordinance, what I wanted to do is we absolutely, to me, have to have some kind of an ordinance that says in black and white, you can't have any more people than what the septic is built for, like on the basis of 2 people per bedroom. Because I don't think, we need something in black and white. And we also need to address also in black and white about having them in the residential zoning, because our zoning code does not have it in black and white, and we need it. Those are the 2 things we need. We don't need short-term rental permits. We don't need parking rules. We don't need lists of people that are going to stay. We just have to have something on the septic the way I feel. How does the board feel?
Well, I've been saying for 3 months, we need something about an occupancy limit.
Yes.
Tied to the septic.
That's what we
And
need.
compliance to 43.
Because, at the present time, I don't know that the town has anything that's in black and white that says that. I mean, 43 says that, but I think that the town ought to also have something, unless we're just going to rely on 43. Yes?
Steve, I'd like to remind you that we've discussed numerous times at all these meetings regarding short-term rentals, that it shouldn't be just occupancy on a short-term rental, it should be occupancy on every home, cabin, whatever you want to call it, in this town. Because we are all affected by the septic systems of our neighbors, whether it's a short-term rental, a year-round resident, or a summer resident.
Okay.
Steve,
Yes,
I think regulation 43 stipulates that if there's a change in use, which some sort of STR ordinance guideline would constitute a change in use, the regulation 43 requires that the system be inspected and brought into compliance with section 43. The other thing is, last year, the town council, upon recommendation from the Board of Zoning Adjustment, amended zoning regulations to define short-term rentals and specifically state they are not permitted in the residential district. That's on the books.
okay. Chris?
Can I make a motion to postpone this until we take care of this phone call in August?
Absolutely.
I'll second that.
Okay. We don't have to vote if we're going to table it, do we? Okay, yeah, we can do that. Hey, you know, I just thought something that we ought to be talking about. Okay, now we have a septic for Mark Hughes at 701 State Street.
And Rand was not able to be here tonight, but he asked me to present this. It's been engineered by Williams. It is, if you want to look at the drawings here, this is on State Street. Let's see, here's State Street, 7th and State. And there's an existing cabin that's going to be torn down. And there's an existing tank that evidently has been inspected and is okay. And they're going to put in a lift station to a new leach field, which meets all the setbacks, meets from the ditch, from the wells. And so I don't see any, it meets all the setbacks. It's been engineered.
How many total lots are there? Put it on 4 lots?
4 lots.
4 lots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
Well, but we don't have what are they gonna build?
They're gonna build in 40 Durand, they're gonna build a new house right in here.
How many bedrooms?
Well,
Did he say? Or did it
Mr.
say?
Hughes, Mark, you
I'm sure it's,
can we defer this question, Mark, since you
You have some questions?
Oh.
Go ahead.
okay.
The size of the house is gonna be 20 by 1,000 and 1,300 square foot. It's
Okay.
gonna be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
All it's gonna be.
Okay, so, and it looks like the, pretty good sized leach field.
Well, if it's engineered, 2
I mean,
bedrooms, 2 baths, I'm
that's-
good for it.
And it doesn't, it's it with, it's got a few feet clearance from 100 foot from closest to the well. Meets the setback to the ditch and this is the current, which is, so it's definitely an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're far from the ditch.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want it over there?
I've already reviewed them.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the septic for Mark Hughes at 701 State Street.
Second.
Second. Okay, is there any more comment? Is there any public comment? Okay, then we are ready to vote. All in favor of approving the septic for 701 State, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we got the town audit. Has everybody seen the town, has everybody seen the audit? I know it's been sent out.
Does anybody have questions about the town audit? Because now would be the time to give them to me so that I could bring them to the auditors, so that it is approved by the deadline. Okay.
No.
We actually don't have to, the board does not have to approve the audit. So we
They don't?
have to.
Okay.
No, I was mistaken about that. Yes.
The only question I have is, do we have all the previous audits? Going
Yes.
back how far, do you know?
I found a stack. The 70s,
To the 70s?
I believe
Okay,
so.
good.
Yeah.
Great.
Every year that we. Now I take that back. There's a chunk of time in the early 2000s where I did not find them, but that doesn't mean we don't have them. I haven't looked in every box. Yeah. I can only handle so many spider webs in one day.
We haven't always done them every year.
Right, and there were some years that the town did not have an audit done.
So we do not have to vote on it?
Nope, do not. I just wanted to make sure that any questions that the board had, I could
Okay.
raise with the auditors in a timely.
Okay. Is everybody good with it, or, I guess? Okay. Then, okay. Okay, yeah, this was brought up, we need to vote on the town, what we call the town variances. There's the porch on the post office, the deck on the hotel, the one on what used to be the bird's nest, the assay office. And I think we also include Postings Chainsaw Business in there, I think, too.
Well,
Or is that separate?
that's separate,
Okay.
because we don't need insurance for that. That's an exception, right, to allow
Okay.
business and residential.
So
The
it's,
other
so
three
it,
are structural variances.
it's these structures that are built on town property.
Correct.
Does that-
And I think there's the Sharon Owens deck.
I wanted, yes,
It's
Sharon
all different.
Owens, I think I did
Okay.
mention that, yeah.
In Cleveland's garage.
Oh, it's
Right.
yeah,
Yes,
Cleveland.
that's,
Cleveland's Garage,
so Sharon Owens,
yes.
does anybody know? Well,
She has a little deck or porch or whatever you call it.
So that would be anywhere that we have a structure or building
On town
encroaching
property.
on town property.
That is correct.
And that's all of them that y'all are aware of.
Yes.
That's what we've always voted on, yes. The only ones that we know of.
Right, I mean, it's permanent structures.
And these people are supposed to provide proof that they have a rider on their insurance policy.
That's been shown the town as additional insured.
That's correct,
Yes.
yes.
So this motion would be to approve that pending
Yes.
the receipt of that proof.
Insurance.
Okay?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Maybe it would be more appropriate for Sarah, I guess, to send a letter to these people saying, you know, we're approving this and we need, you know, proof of insurance. And have that before.
Get the insurance first?
Yeah.
And I would submit to you that just the way it's noticed, variances is a fairly generic term. It's really not identifying which properties. I think that
Okay.
that's probably better identified specifically
You're
within the
prob-
notice.
You're probably right.
Are there any others we don't have on this list that we should be just asking? Anybody else?
Well, then you would go into definition of structure. In front of my house, I have a little footbridge across the ditch. Do I have to provide proof of insurance? Somebody could walk across it and get hurt.
Just asking.
I think it was a very reasonable question, Mr. Mayor, and I would submit to you that, like I said, specific identification of each property, because generically the word, the variances is too broad.
Okay, so we should,
To answer Rachel's question, the only other one that I know of, the Deutsches had an issue, but they resolved it with the town, with a trade of property.
yes,
They encroached on an alley
with their bill.
with a building, and then they traded town property to the town to compensate.
Okay, so maybe we need to renotice this and list the people.
Yeah, I just-
Okay.
That's just the historical ones.
You're probably right,
I mean, I
yeah,
don't know.
because
It could be.
this is not very, this isn't very,
Do we want Sarah to send letters? I mean, is that something that?
yes.
Send letters
Yeah.
to, asking, we need insurance first.
Okay.
And then we'll approve, I mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good to me.
Wait. Can we schedule a work session tonight
To do what?
to discuss further? I was just asking if there's anything we could discuss at the work session to help streamline our meetings.
have, we could have fewer items on the agenda.
Well,
No.
I mean, there were things
I-
that we brought up tonight that we could have easily kept discussing. And
Yes,
it's just
I
a
know,
question.
and that's kind of, it's, I guess that is my job, and it's kind of a tightrope to give everybody a chance and then cut it off at just the right time. You know, and you make enemies no matter what. But I guess that falls under the mayor's job, and if you say I should cut it off sooner, then I'll cut it off. I got no problems with it. I just want to give people a chance. But I don't think that we need anything. All right, is everybody good on that? We'll adjourn the meeting at 10:01.